impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake. And today we're talking about Evil West. Now, this is a new game from Flying Wild Hog. It's a Polish development studio. They're the makers of the Shadow Warrior series. Now, we were interested in this one right from the jump because this is straight up like a traditional linear third-person action game. Some people might call it old school, but this concept isn't really that old, and these games are still out there, but we just don't see as many of them as we used to. But it harkens back to the PS3, Xbox 360 era where it felt like we had a new Dante's Inferno every other month. You know, just a simple straight up game. No side quests, no RPG stats, or like substantial loot. Just like a straightforward game where you hop into a level that you play from beginning to the end and on to the next with cutscenes and boss battles, and that's about it. And from that, and just like the general over-the-top video gamey style of this game, the characters, the story, this thing just feels like a game from the PS3 360 era. And I don't mean technically or graphically, I mean like in the entire experience. And I mean it in a good way. Evil West is pretty refreshing if you're into this type of thing. The modern gamer may not be as into it, or even like a really picky gamer, but it's a pretty cool game. Now, Evil West is set in this alternate history version of the Wild West. You might call it the Evil West. Okay, all right, sorry. You play as this gruff cowboy man, Jesse Rentier, who is like a cowboy version of the over-the-top Hugh Jackman style Van Helsing. You're just this like beast of a dude with a bunch of cool early tech gadgets that you use to take on vampires and creatures of the night. You're actually part of a specialized government agency called the Rentier Institute, tasked with taking on these horrors and I guess protecting the United States. Jesse's father is like a Civil War veteran who helped found the Institute and is a man of science who embraces sci-fi, steampunk, and electricity type stuff to fight the bad guys, where Jesse himself is more of just kind of the gunslinger adventurer type. And along with them, you come across a pretty decent cast of characters. There's the nerdy comic relief engineer guy, there's the doctor lady, there's the gruff old man veteran partner, among others, and there's kind of like an outcast in the vampire world who is resorting to new methods to get a leg up on the Institute in the hopes of preserving the dying vampire race and ultimately dominate the world. And that sets up the bad guy and the threat. But it's all goofy stuff, really. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, in a good way. You know, it's a little spooky and gross and gory when it wants to be, and it's also over the top and kind of celebratory of how dumb it is, too. It just
Looks cool, man.
weird wackiness, and
Looks
it works
real
pretty well.
cool.
It's kind of like if The Order 1886 wasn't grim and serious. It clearly loves history and just wants to get weird with it, and it works well enough. Now you're facing off against vampires, but also tons of other things. Werewolf-like creatures, these gross, almost like leech zombies that the vampires use, big heavy monster guys, and human vampire followers. Despite the story setup, it doesn't necessarily feel like an all vampire affair, which did kind of bum me out as a vampire fan. I mean, they're there, but it also is just way more of a full spooky creature gallery, and I just wanted more bloodsuckers. That's really a personal nitpick. That being said, I do think they did a really good job coming up with just some
The
gross,
leech
nasty
creature
stuff
looks
overall.
kind of cool.
You do kill a lot of gross, nasty stuff. The main way you interact with this game, with this world, is punching and shooting stuff. And the combat is definitely new God of War inspired, like with the camera angle and stuff, but with guns and science mixed in. Jesse has a lot up his sleeve in terms of combat tools, and the game keeps adding stuff as you go fairly consistently. So I won't share all of it to save you some of the discovery, but you'll get the main gist here. You fight with a massive electrical gauntlet on your arm, and that's the basis of it. You can do melee attacks and combos, an uppercut that pops up enemies in the air, and then you can hit them more while they're in the air as kind of a juggle, or you can hold the uppercut button to jump up and kind of volleyball spike the enemies into other enemies or environmental hazards that like blow up. Now, you can also use your trusty revolver that you can fire into enemies at any time, with enemies either on the ground or in the air, and you can hold the trigger to fire a bunch of rapid fire shots if you want. With the left trigger, you can fire long range with a repeater rifle, and with certain ranged enemies, you can time a perfect shot right before they shoot to do bonus damage, like say pop a flying bug that's going to spit venom or blow off a gunslinger's hand. You have a dodge and then a double tap to dodge roll, which sounds familiar. And the gauntlet does allow a temporary electric shield to pop up that isn't great for really just holding up and defending, but is good for parrying enemies and certain things. The real deal with it is like a push-pull mechanic that it brings. Look at an enemy, hold up your electric gauntlet shield, and push forward or backward to either zip towards the enemy or yank them towards you with an electrical arc that then kind of stuns them and sets them up to kind of be vulnerable to a fun little electrical punching bag combo. It's ridiculous, but it's really fun to zap enemies and then punch them into like a bloody pulp. The game has a skill tree that's pretty decent, although I wish you earned points more consistently. It's a pretty slow trickle, but you get nice little building blocks on top of the base combat, like more bullets, different types of damage, more aerial damage, special types of hits and maneuvers, and it's overall a solid skill tree, even if it develops a bit slow at first, like I said. But there's a lot of cool stuff on there, and there's quite a few little things to the combat that you might like and embrace more. Juggling an enemy up in the air with your revolver, or like a fun dodge to big Superman punch combo that is really satisfying. The combat is good overall, and like I said, you get more weapons along the way that really shake things up consistently, along with cool moves to burn an energy meter on. And along with the skill tree, you're also collecting money out in the world to spend on weapon upgrades. And also, you can find skins for your clothing and your guns. There is a move or two that doesn't feel quite right, though. For me, the ground pound super with electricity was kind of finicky and would sometimes weirdly cancel out for no reason. I couldn't really figure that out. But also, the finishing moves themselves aren't really very satisfying sometimes. Some of them are cool, but a lot of them lack weight or punch or anything very cool about them. It's a small complaint, but still. Combat is solid. Like I said, I like it a lot. Is it a masterpiece? I don't know, man, but it's fun and it builds in nice, clever ways with more moves and more enemy complications. That's personal preference, though. I'm a bit forgiving. I'll admit it can be a little messy at times, and, you know, Jesse's a chunky boy, and, I mean, even after the new God of War games, the close-to-the-shoulder camera angle isn't everyone's favorite, and I think for some, they still might find the game a little repetitive after a while, not necessarily because it dries up mechanically, but because you might tend to find what works for you in combat and just stick with those moves. I know I definitely found myself doing that, at least towards the end where things get a little more complicated and a little more challenging. Still, like I keep saying, it's decent combat with a good amount of challenge. The game has multiple difficulty modes, and I definitely recommend taking advantage of that. Because with this specifically, it's a bit more fun when you're really kept on your toes. Now, just as consistently as you're given new tools, the environments are really varied. There's a country western town, a desert canyon, a snowy mining facility in the mountains, spooky woods, otherworldly facilities, and more. The game is constantly throwing you into some really cool, colorful, and really different areas with every single level, as well as some cool hub areas. Story-wise, it's just kind of like, hey, you have to go here to do this. It doesn't really matter too much, but hey, it looks cool and it shakes things up good. Where the game unfortunately is really dry is the actual layouts of the environments themselves. Like, you know, walk through a corridor or a skinny, narrow area and then find yourself in an open area, like arena-style area, and fight some enemies and then move on. Every so often, Jesse will swing across a ledge or shimmy across something, but really, it all really boils down to walk straight in a simple area, maybe turn left and find a treasure chest with some money in it, then turn around and keep going, then find a big area, fight enemies, and then rinse and repeat. The combat, like I said, is challenging, but any other time in the game when you're doing anything else, it's kind of like you're on autopilot if you've played a lot of games. This is something that even when these types of games were all the rage, some of them really struggled with it, and I was hoping Evil West now in 2022 would have a little bit more to it in terms of level design and just variety in terms of like what you're doing when you're not fighting, because this is where it might fall a bit short for some people. Like I said, I'm forgiving just because I like the fresh, almost oldish school simplicity, but you may not as much. It does end up reusing some enemies quite a bit, and it's a bummer towards the end, but at the very least, there are some good boss battles here and there that I did enjoy. The story didn't amount to too much, but it was light and fun, and I was just interested enough. But I actually found myself interested in the world building. I ended up reading every little bit and piece of info with the collectibles you pick up. I don't always do that in games, but this silly little world did enough to draw me in, I
I tricked
guess. I think
you.
ultimately, I wish
I
there was
tricked
just a bit
you.
more to Jesse's character.
I tricked
As cool
you.
as he looks, he really
Tricked
didn't do much
you.
to stand out for me at all
I tricked
in any
you.
way other than just some one-liners
Tricked
here and there. I
you.
almost wish they went like
I
a little
tricked
more
Webby.
cartoonish with him because everything else in the world is wild and over the top, and he's just kind of like a guy who just happens to be dressed like an insanely awesome comic book character. Now, you can finish the game in like 9 to like maybe 12 hours depending on the difficulty. There's also a permadeath mode along with the difficulty modes I mentioned earlier, so good luck with that. Also, there is full co-op. You can play the entire thing in co-op with a friend, apparently. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to test that. I didn't have anybody. But for this type of game, it might feel good as a mindless playthrough with a buddy, like, maybe like how you would co-op Resident Evil 5 back in the day. So that length ain't much. And the simple, older kind of Xbox 360, PS3 style of play might not really be your thing. So it is a tough sell, especially if you're on a budget. But really one I enjoyed playing through, like some good old-fashioned video game junk food. I may not remember it for years to come, but I cherished most of the hours I played with it, There's gore, there's action, there's gross, spooky stuff, and a good amount of silly weirdness. And it's just a good old-fashioned, flawed, fun, simple action game. They don't make a ton like these anymore, so again, I'm biased in terms of just like being happy to have something like this. But ultimately, that's where I'm at. Hopefully, I described it to you enough, and the gameplay helped you out. Because as you know, this is a before you play. I gave you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now I want to hear
No bargain.
down in the comments. Have you been looking forward to this game?
No
Do you know what you're
barking.
getting into with it? Are you glad it's not full
People
price?
don't want to hear you
Evil
barking.
West down in the comments. What game from the PS3 360 era would you, most likely compare this to? I'd love to hear what you think down there. But if this helped you out, maybe informed your purchase, clicking the like button's all you got to do. It really helps us out. But as always, I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
I would like to play that. That would be sweet. Send me money.
This is an interesting exchange over on Patriots.win. They're talking about unbanning Alex Jones. And Jason Hinkle comes in and he says, hey, unban Alex or ban Joe. It's your choice if you're principled at Elon Musk. And then there's this, I don't know, back and forth between Elon Musk and some other people. Sam Harris. Sam Harris, the dude who's totally fine with all of the lying and criminality to protect the Joe Biden administration because Orange Man sends mean tweets. Sam Harris is still a thing. I am not shocked that his avatar is rainbow flavored over here. Anyway, Sam Harris starts this off. He says, is it time to let Alex Jones back on Twitter, Elon Musk? If not, why not? That's a fair question. That's a fair question. Even broken clocks are right twice a day, I'm guessing. Sam Harris. Elon Musk responds, he says, suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. He is, I don't know, quoting a lot of scripture. He's invoking a lot of God energy lately. Again,
What?
I'm thinking Elon Musk has smoked a heroic dose of DMT, and he is understanding things far past our 5 senses, because a lot of stuff happening with that dude lately. Okay, so he invokes this. Kim.com jumps in. He says, Alex fucked up with Sandy Hook. He admitted that and he apologized. He also got a lot of conspiracy theories right. If serial liars like Biden and Trump are allowed on Twitter, then Alex Jones should be allowed to. Please consider in the interest of real free speech. Now, here's where it gets real interesting, because Elon Musk keeps saying that he's not going to let Alex Jones back on the platform. And a few days ago, before the entire Trump thing, I understood that. Because if you let Alex Jones back on the platform, then Google and Apple are going to kick Twitter out of their stores. And they're going to try to keep Twitter from being on phones. As Twitter has never been more popular and more people are installing the app on their phone, letting Alex Jones back on right now would give them and the pussies over at ADL, now you super duper got to get him off of these platforms. Take Twitter down. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. But then he let Trump back on. And so that everything that I just said about Alex Jones could be said about Google and Apple kicking Twitter off the platform.
We're having Trump back on. So, yeah, what is the excuse?
Not that. Elon Musk is not afraid of the people attacking Alex Jones, clearly, at this point. Here's what he is reacting to. Elon Musk knows that the fake news is fake news. but he's still buying in to the fake news narrative when it comes to Alex Jones and Sandy Hook. Because he comes back in with this. He says, my first-born child died in my arms. I felt...
Oh my fucking god. Yeah, you're annoying. Oh.
Felt his last heartbeat. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. When did that happen? So, okay, the dude is traumatized, and he's upset, and rightly so. He lost his first kid. Couldn't imagine having a kid being born and then dying in my arms. I mean, that's heartbreaking. And then he goes on to say, I have no mercy for anyone who would use the deaths of children for gain, politics, or fame. I was listening to Alex Jones during this time period. There's a lot of wonkiness with Sandy Hook. I fully believe that they killed a bunch of kids at Sandy Hook. Again, the people that we're talking about have a platform that they're promoting on Disney Plus about let's kill some kids. They love dead kids. They are selling abortion to your daughters, young daughters. They got no problem killing kids. And again, look at on the right-hand side over here. It's Joe Biden. Remember when he blew up? Look, 10 family members, including children, dead after a U.S. strike in Kabul. They told you that they were targeting the people who blew up the U.S. armed forces during the evacuation of Afghanistan.
Trump didn't get killed. Trump didn't get killed.
He killed a bunch of kids.
Trump didn't kill kids.
Killed kids, and then they lied about it.
Trump didn't kill kids.
They lied about it for days, saying, no, we had a
just saying.
strike, and we totally killed
like
it
Trump.
for serials, the person who planned the attack.
I wish you just shut the fuck up and not run. Let the census take the spot.
You vaporized a bunch of kids, and then you lied about it. Why is Joe Biden still on the platform then? Right? He's killed kids. He has signed a piece of paper and killed kids, and then, through his influence, tried to get everybody to play along like he didn't kill kids. That happened. That's cut and dry. What the mainstream media press is saying about Alex Jones and Sandy Hook, there are wonkiness and inconsistencies of that story. Alex Jones, yeah, he ran with him. Yeah, he yelled about him. Yeah, he talked about him. Yeah, he made money off it because he got an audience, because a lot of people don't buy what happened. Nobody buys the official narrative 100% when it comes to Sandy Hook. And Elon Musk is buying into that rhetoric. And is that what is really keeping Alex Jones off of this platform? The fact that you're buying what MSNBC told you about Alex Jones? That you're buying what the ADL told you about Alex Jones? You know all those people are shitburgers. You know this. Why would you listen to them? Go look at what he was saying. Go look at what he was questioning. He wasn't clearly out there utilizing this story to sell you, I don't know, those dick pills that he sells on his website. He was out there questioning the official narrative when it came to Sandy Hook, and of course we should question all of these narratives, because the agenda is always the same. The solution is always the same. Well, you got to give up your guns. I ain't giving up my guns. Again, I fully believe you let a lunatic kill a bunch of kids in Sandy Hook. Let's find out why every time these people are on the FBI's
oh yeah, he was on our radar.
Let's start questioning how these kids are buying guns,
especially in the last
job at Wendy's
5 years.
$3,000 worth of guns.
Like,
I can't buy $3,000 worth of guns. You guys
about 70% of the time, at least. Oh yeah, the guy was on our radar.
Law-abiding citizens must give up their guns because of what some criminal did.
Why you admitted that?
America needs to give up all of its missiles if you're blowing up families already, right? No, it's different. Yeah, see, they don't want to get rid of guns. They want the criminals to have the guns, and they want the criminal government to have the guns. And when it comes to questioning any of that, you will be attacked, and that's why they came after Alex Jones full force. And Elon Musk is buying into this rhetoric, and that's why he's keeping Alex Jones off the platform. That's not a good reason to keep Alex Jones off the platform. It's just not.
Nope.
So very interesting. There's some insight into why this is the deepest I think I've seen of Elon Musk explaining why Alex Jones is not back on this platform. And Elon Musk needs to understand. You need to take your own personal situation that happened to you right here. You need to put that aside because it doesn't line up.
Stop being a baby.
Why are you white? Probably because you like it. You can be Italian, you can be French, you can be German, you can be Spanish, but you have opted into whiteness probably because you like it. And the same can be true for fat people. They can like their bodies. They can have a healthy relationship with their health, with their self-image, and with their self-esteem. You don't get to walk around projecting your body and weight loss issues on other people. We're doing good over here, boo.
Go ahead and stand on the scale.
Are you living past 60?
I have to write this arbitrary number down. Stand on the scale.
I think I'm gonna share a little bit of my dinner with you.
Oh.
I already started snacking on it when I was doing the pictures. But I think
Oh. No.
I hope all this goes to my belly and hips.
Oh, we are doomed as a society, guys.
How many times a day do you think she eats that plateful? This is a commitment to stay this big. There's at least 10K calories a day going down the gullet.
Shit, you know I don't f with them big so I ain't f with them plate cleaners.
Sir, I know you're not talking. Sir, you look like you barely even cleaned your body. So who are you to call plus-size women plate cleaners? And you barely look even tall. You look like you're barely...
This isn't a woman, just so we're clear. This is a man pretending to be a woman with a mustache. They're offended that the guy doesn't like fatties. Got it.
Pushing 5'6". And you think a plus-size queen is going to talk to your dusty ass?
I don't think he's looking for a queen. I think he's looking for a woman. Like a regular woman with an innie. Not a queen. No thank you.
Ow.
You shouldn't be eating bread.
Why not?
Because you're overweight. Over what weight?
Fat weight.
What do you mean? Well, you said I'm overweight. So, what weight am I over?
We can pretend there's no overweight, all bodies at any size.
I don't know.
Look back
How tall are you?
20 years, people weren't as fat.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Make it up in your head and enjoy, but you're still going to be fat at the end of the day, right?
Number two.
I'm about to make you feel real bad.
Because I can tell so many folks don't know that fat phobia has its origins in racial discrimination of people that look like me.
There's a very strong correlation between male pattern baldness and heart attacks, which is true. Now, based on that information, should we ascertain that baldness causes heart attacks? Should we try to get bald men to grow hair in an effort to reduce their likelihood of having a heart attack and then blame them when they can't do it?
It's the way that y'all act like y'all don't receive privilege for being a thin body for me.
I really get so sick of people not understanding why we do this. This isn't about creating a hierarchy of fatness. This is about discussing that there are complexities to oppression that people deal with, and that those of us on the bigger side of the spectrum deal with more oppression than those of you on the small end.
Here's the reality for most people. I know you don't want to admit it, but no one gives a shit how they feel. Admit it to yourself. You don't have to admit it to me, but these people think we really care. People care about themselves first, family a distant second, and the fatties none.
I just want to say that
I
love you with all my belly.
Oh.
Nice.
I would say that I love you with all my heart.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I have a condition called lipedema. It's a rarely diagnosed fibrotic fat disorder that grows the legs and sometimes the arms really big. Lipedema fat isn't losable, so you can't diet or exercise it away.
Oh, that must be horrible.
Don't know it. 11% of all people assigned female at birth are said to have it. Very few people assigned male at birth have lipedema. It's often dismissed as obesity and ignored due to medical fat phobia.
Oh my
assigned at birth that is stupid as shit and it just came out in the last year. But let's get back to reality.
Is that
if you're not morbidly obese,
is that real?
Lipedema. I've never in my entire 50+ years seen a thin person with a lipedema, so that's part of the problem.
Putting on arm compression to help reduce swelling and hopefully slow the growth of my arms.
We're thick.
But there's a big difference between being thick and being obese.
Oh.
Are you sorry though?
Big difference.
Are you really?
No.
I don't think you are.
I don't think he is either.
Hang off your eyebrow. What is that?
Good for him.
Snatch it off with like zip tie it till it comes off.
Because here's the thing. Everybody likes to go after Tess Holiday and Lizzo about promoting obesity.
Listen to this.
And here's the thing, they're both incredibly active people.
How would you know they're active?
Are they?
They are morbidly obese. I'm not sure what her definition of active is. They don't look very active to me. I'm missing that, and these people just keep
What?
drinking the Kool-Aid
I
like the Heaven's Gate.
that word you
Really
keep using it.
people.
Right.
I
So they
don't
actually promote really
think
healthy lifestyles.
you know what it
The
means.
difference
Oh, wow,
is
how did
they
that quote
have
go?
fat bodies. You cannot
Princess
determine-
Bride.
They promote healthy lifestyles. I've seen Tess Holliday shoving pizzas in her face and with cakes. I've never seen her like exercising, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna eat a healthy meal. I'm not going wild here, but a little bit of protein, some vegetables, maybe some complex carbohydrates, small, under 1,000 calories." I've never seen that. I've seen her eating pizza.
someone's health and lifestyle based on what they look like. I find it really ironic that you talk about bodybuilding, because that is actually an industry that promotes eating disorders, an unhealthy lifestyle. But the result is what we have perceived as healthy. And genetics plays a huge role in what we look like. It would not matter how much a person works out, eats well, how many protein shakes they consume. They're not necessarily going to end up looking like John Cena.
Well, that is true, but genetics have nothing to do with you being 300 pounds. Maybe 180. I understand some people are bigger than others, but these people want to write off to genetics, their PCOS, some other kind of medical condition, and that could contribute to it. But if you don't put the inputs in, you won't gain the weight. Unless you're like an Elon Musk and figured out some sort of new energy program, shit don't work that way.
But do you know what does promote an unhealthy lifestyle?
Tell
the
me,
diet
Annette, you'll tell
industry.
me. Right,
Fat shit thin people will never understand.
Oh,
and to
God.
start this series off, here's something that my older sister does that seems very fatphobic.
Tell me.
Enjoy.
My sister's house. You see these goddamn chairs? I cannot fit in a single goddamn one of them. You see this bench? This is where I sit. It holds me. Some more of these goddamn chairs. Okay? Okay? You see that plastic, thick, long chair? That's wide. Yeah.
So I guess it's the family's problem that this woman's morbidly obese. Hear me out for a second. If I were morbidly obese or just big, like a big man, I'd bring my own chair to things if I were at a picnic.
For real, dude.
Example. Because I know the chairs aren't going to fit me. Do you think The Undertaker brings his own stuff to, say, a barbecue because he wants to sit down? Of course he does. Fatties, get over yourself.
And I brought those here because she refused to buy bigger chairs for us. Because we don't fucking fit in these chairs. And
Why
she
the
thinks we can.
fuck would she buy you chair?
Get in.
All right.
Get in, Chubbs.
The chair. All right. The chair. I'm gonna put a towel in it because it's hot as balls. The chair. Ow.
Yep.
Why do I not feel sorry for
It's
her?
the chair's fault.
You know you're big. You're working on it. I get it, but you're going places. You know the chairs are going to be made for people that are sub 300 pounds. Not
It's
with
the
hips.
chairs
That's why
and
she
your
likes
sister's
home.
fault
It's
for your life
I understand,
decisions.
but the whining and the complaining, it just becomes too much.
Yeah, this hurts really bad.
Women.
Like really, this hurts so bad. Then
Stop.
my sister goes, "See, you can sit in it.
You can.
Can I sit in it comfortably?"
Maybe that's like a barometer that you need to lose weight. If you can't sit in a chair that most 300 pounders can fit in, you got to say, all right, it's time for me to lose some weight. You know, I'm about to eat that third piece of pizza. I just need to stop.
I do not allow intentional weight loss on my page. I do not want people talking about intentional weight loss on my page.
You're absolutely right, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why BMI is full of shit. 1, the mathematician who created it, Adolf Quetelet, said BMI, the formula he derived, should not be used to indicate the level of fatness in an individual. He made a quick and dirty formula up.
So that's the point, right? It's a quick and dirty thing. So if you're off your BMI, you can take your shirt off for the most part, and they can look at you and go, you're fine. Maybe you're a little more muscular, maybe you're thicker boned. But if you take your shirt off and you're obese, they're going to say, okay, you're fat. The BMI shows it. I can look at you. I don't need any kind of complicated scientist, biologist here.
To help study fatness in populations as a whole. 2, it's scientifically nonsensical. Why are you squaring someone's height in relation to their weight?
So did you hear what you just said? Height and weight have no bearing. So I guess if you're 5'6" in one build, if you're 6'6", that means there's no bearing in your weight? Does this makes any sense to you?
Ignores waist size. Most researchers and doctors agree that waist size is a good indicator of cardiovascular health, not BMI.
All right, let's take the BMI 40 and do a waist tape measurement. Do you think it's going to be thin? Ever. I don't care. I don't want the exception bodybuilders. That's not relevant here.
4. BMI isn't even a fixed number. In 1998, the cutoff point between overweight and normal was reduced by 2.7 points. Overnight, millions of Americans became overweight. Number 5, it doesn't take into account the physiological differences in people's bodies, rendering a lot of people who shouldn't be overweight as overweight. BMI is full of shit.
I know there's this thread to say people of color have different body types. If you look back historically, talking about, let's say 50 years ago, you look at pictures, the body types of humans aren't that different. If you go to, say, an African country and you pick the country, look at the body types, they're not that much different than thin people of any color. So that doesn't work anymore.
I'm really afraid to open this door, but I'm going to do it. What if it was just fat? What if it wasn't your uterus? I want to invite you to consider what it might be like for somebody living in a fat body to see a video like that.
So they're going to equate being obese to diseases and say, listen, I know you had ovarian cancer, but it's just like me being obese. And you follow, they say they can't control it, but your ovarian cancer equates perfectly to their obesity.
We're so quick to explain away parts of our body as being like natural or being an organ instead of being fat. What if that's natural too? What if there's not anything inherently wrong with having a larger body?
All right, Fatty, good night now.
I don't know, because we live in reality.
You ready for Thanksgiving? Before you eat that turkey, I want to bust one.
That looks good.
You've heard about that Thanksgiving feast. Pilgrims and Indians sharing food. Sharing is nice in families and sometimes in small groups. But as Thanksgiving approaches, let's remember that when we pilgrims first came to America, we almost starved.
People grew weak and thin. Some swelled with hunger.
That's because we settlers acted like Bernie Sanders wants us to act. We farmed collectively. The corporation that funded our expedition said, grow food together, divide the harvest equally. Bad idea. Communal farming creates what economists call the tragedy of the commons. Think about a nice piece of land that ranchers hold in common.
Anyone who wants to can bring their cattle to graze.
The tragedy is that no individual rancher is much motivated to try to preserve that land. In fact,
every rancher has the incentive to bring more and more cattle to the pasture. So they're going to continue to add cow after cow until the pasture is overgrazed and destroyed.
One way to demonstrate that is to run experiments like this one. This is now your property here. I assembled a group of people and told them the circle is your shared land. You can furnish it with trees, people, whatever. And they did.
Have a tree.
Then I put some fake coins on their property and told them each coin is worth $1. But if you can leave it in there for a minute, I'll give you $2. Each minute, it doubles in value. If they can wait, they can make much more money. Do they wait? Ready, set, go. Nobody waited? There was no reason to wait. Someone else would just grab your coins. Let's change the rules of the game. I divided the land into segments, so each person had his own property. Then we played the game again. Same rules. Every minute, the value doubles, except you can only take coins from your property. Go. Nobody's doing anything. Why are you waiting?
I want to reap the most benefit.
You didn't wait last time.
At that moment, I wanted it now, whereas this is going up and it's mine, you know?
Exactly. When you own property, you take care to preserve it, to allow it to keep producing good things. But we pilgrims shared our land, so when the crops were ready to harvest, we did what these people did. Some of my neighbors sneaked out at night and grabbed extra food. Some picked corn before it was fully ready. The result?
By the spring, our food stores were used up.
The shortage of food was worse because of a second problem with the commons. When you share the results of your work, some people don't work hard.
Yep.
So it left an opportunity for
Somebody's not gonna work.
And leave the work to others.
Yeah.
Had that continued, Thursday would be
Look at that big guy over there. How much
But
work he's doing?
fortunately,
I
we were
bet
led
he's
not by
doing as
Bernie
much
Sanders,
work
another
as
commons-loving
a
socialist,
normal
but by
guy.
Governor William
Bless
Bradford,
me.
who wrote in his diary,
After much debate, I, William Bradford, assigned to every family a parcel of land.
he did what I did here. The result?
This had very good success, for it made all hands very industrious.
We brought in a harvest that was more than enough to feed us. After such a success, we never returned to shared planting.
Private property allowed us pilgrims to prosper and have that feast we read about at school. So this Thanksgiving, if you have a good meal, thank private property. Every day it protects us from the tragedy of the commons.
Riveting is a very common type of fastening. The Eiffel Tower alone required about 2.5 million rivets, and one of the most popular tools for working with them is the ratchet rivet gun. That's exactly what you're seeing on your screen. A big advantage of the tool is its ability to work in tight spaces. It measures 7.3 inches long and weighs 2.4 pounds. It works with rivets from 0.1 to 0.25 inches in diameter in any material from stainless steel to aluminium. The manufacturers are asking $203 for this handy tool.
Aluminium.
This trolley from Switzerland may look simple, but it makes the job a lot easier thanks to its 53-gallon containers for mortars, bulk products, etc. With a load capacity of 948 pounds, it features a 4-point locking system and a safety hook. Plus, it's easy to transport by crane and folds flat for compact storage.
Nice. I don't have any use for it, but, you know, cool tools, cool tool.
In Italy, they have figured out how to make the process of improving any city more pleasant and easier. Specifically, a local company has devised a system for lifting and transporting heavy manhole covers. The system is available in 3 versions: mechanical, magnetic, and hybrid. It can be used to lift covers up to 50 inches wide and weighing 265 pounds of any shape. The operator maintains correct posture, and there is no risk of injury. The hook system not only aids in unlocking, but also in transporting loads that cannot be picked up by the magnets. Another Italian development is this machine for mowing lawns, trimming trees, and other similar operations. Gardeners, firefighters, construction workers, and even the military. The manufacturers are confident that the machine will appeal to a wide range of customers. Currently, the company offers a series ranging from a compact 25 horsepower model to a massive 75 horsepower model. The abundance of attachments is the highlight. You can use it with a brush cutter, a lawnmower, a snowblower, a brush, and more. The equipment is designed so that even on 55-degree slopes, the operator has no problems. For example, each track can extend sideways. The machine is remote controlled, and if anything goes wrong, the system will immediately send a signal to the controller.
Fancy lawnmower.
On your screen, you can see a practical and simple solution for carrying loads created by German engineers. In fact, almost any load, for example a container, becomes a kind of trolley. The 360-degree rotation alone will be to the liking of many workers. You might think that this invention is nothing compared to the previous developments, but what if we tell you that this platform, depending on the model, can support from 1,980 pounds to 22,050 pounds of load? In addition, you can combine different versions of the platforms and also upgrade them by partially locking the wheels, for example.
Nice.
And for tasks that the standard models cannot perform, the manufacturer is willing to build one-off versions to order. We are in Germany, This country has managed to reach a record level of logging in 2020. We're talking about 3 billion cubic feet,
Is that saw
and
in
an
itself?
increase in timber exports of 42.6%. So these felling wedges are in demand. This model is easy to work with. It allows the use of both an impact wrench and a conventional lever. The lifting capacity is 57,320 pounds, and the maximum lifting height is 3.2 inches. The wedge weight is 13.2 pounds, which means that you can work comfortably on your own. The shape is a logical further development of the concept of other similar wedges, so the model provides a perfect grip and doesn't fail, even when working at the power limit. The following US-made tool is designed to increase warehouse efficiency and facilitate the work of employees. A local company offers these hand trucks for fast delivery of goods. The main feature of the model is the 6 wheels. They make it easier to climb up and down stairs. The load capacity is 550 pounds, while the weight of the hand truck itself is 30 pounds. It's made of steel and features specially configured rubber wheels, adds the manufacturer. You can facilitate day-to-day loading and unloading for only $150. These lifting tongs are also manufactured in the United States. In March 2022, imports of tropical hardwood in the country increased by 21%. This is a record in more than 10 years, and this piece of equipment will surely be very useful in the timber industry. After the tongs are installed, various machines, such as Bobcat forklifts, can transport logs up to 2,200 pounds, quickly and easily. If you don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a hydraulic log grabber attachment, this is the perfect tool, says one customer. And indeed it is, because the lifting tongs cost only $160. In Estonia, they also know how to do useful and practical things. They've devised this ingenious system for safety level. Now the work can be done in seconds instead of spending hours. The 850 Pro is driven by the notion of smart work. It gets the job done quickly, while at the same time protecting the environment. It can be mounted on skid steers and excavators up to 30,864 pounds, and can work at speeds of up to 180 stumps per hour. The device performs well in both urban and wooded areas. No additional machinery is needed to clear the area and prepare it for planting new trees. The price is disclosed to the customer's request. According to the World Bank statistics, mankind produces more than 4 trillion pounds of municipal solid waste each year. Unfortunately, this waste is spread everywhere, and often on beaches you'll find bottles, cans, potato chip packaging, and more. Fortunately, this Italian-made system is ready to help with beach cleanup. This system is mounted on a mini tractor and allows you to set a working depth of up to 6 inches. It's suitable even for sea beaches, adapting even to oversized trash. The kit includes 2 sieve options with large and fine mesh, and the cleaning speed is up to 75,000 square feet per hour.
Nice. Could be even cooler. Humans in
Polish construction workers are not far behind. This slip form, offered by a local distributor, helps them in their landscaping work. The solution makes it possible to work with curved and straight curbs to form retaining walls. Its standard height is 29.5 inches, and it weighs 20 pounds. The manufacturer is convinced that this method ensures efficient use of materials, improves quality, and cuts work time. The retail price is $495. Do you know which country has the longest road network? It's the United States, with nearly 4.5 million miles of roadways. It's no wonder that a US team offers this striping machine. Experts point out that it pays to renew parking lot striping every year. The width of the line can be adjusted between 2 and 4 inches. The company also offers 5 paint colors and promises that within half an hour the line will be ready and can be walked on or driven over. The tray can hold 12 cans at a time, so there's no need to go back and forth to reload. The price of the machine is $160, and for a can of paint you'll have to pay another $9. We continue with the experts from Denmark. This is where Lego was invented, so it's no wonder that this tool that allows you to remove paving blocks quickly and easily has appeared in this country, right? The design is very simple. The tool ensures safe work for the back and joints, and reduces the risk of accidental damage to the pavement. It's made of aluminium and rubber, and the manufacturer emphasizes the ergonomics and secure grip of the blocks. The price, however, is around $158.
That's neat.
Hey, stop being lazy, it's time to use that brain of yours. Welcome to Brain Time. Incredible facts from the past, the present, and even the future. The power of nature and wild animals, amazing facts and unsolved mysteries. You'll find all this and much more here. Subscribe now, you won't regret it.
Number 9. Lauren Marie Dooley. On September the 28th of 2022, Lauren Marie Dooley tortured a 21-year-old man she'd met on Tinder after restraining him with duct tape in her Colorado apartment. The victim's name was redacted from the affidavit released to the public in order to preserve his privacy. He indicated that he and 22-year-old Dooley had been intimate with one another in the moments before she tied him up to her bed. He reluctantly consented, but the situation quickly escalated to violence. Once he was restrained, Dooley began slashing him with a knife and choked him when he protested. Following the assault, she reportedly ordered food, threatening to kill her victim if he attempted to alert the delivery driver. After Dooley fell asleep, the man managed to break free from his restraints and fled the apartment fully naked. His captor chased after him, and concerned neighbors called 911. When the police arrived at the scene, they discovered bloody rags and sheets, as well as the knife she'd used during the attack. The victim was taken to the hospital and treated for his non-life-threatening injuries, while Dooley was taken into custody and charged with
watch out for them Tinder dates,
kidnapping, and assault. Number 8. Asheri Gadsden. A 21-year-old South Carolina resident participated in the murder of Alan Philpian Johnson III following a robbery gone wrong on January the 9th of 2022. Asheri Gadsden had initially met the 24-year-old victim on Tinder. She formulated a plot to trick the young man into allowing her into his house, along with her accomplices Joshua Latre Mack, aged 28, and Zora Simone Henderson, aged 19. The ill-intentioned trio eventually killed the homeowner, after which a heavily intoxicated Gadsden contacted the police and waited for them in the driveway. She led them into the victim's apartment, where officers came upon Johnson's lifeless body. An autopsy would later reveal that he'd been shot 4 times during the home invasion. Officers arrested Gadsden, who initially claimed that she'd had nothing to do with the crime. During questioning, she told detectives that she'd heard a gunshot while in the bathroom and rushed into the living room to discover her date lying unresponsive on the ground. However, detectives discovered deleted messages in the suspect's cell phone that implicated her involvement. Gadsden finally confessed to plotting the robbery, but claimed that Mack had been the one to shoot Johnson after the latter had attempted to disarm him. Number 7. Luis Savondo Almanza, Aranana, Morning Martinez, and Sierra Petit. In September of 2021, an unidentified man was held hostage for several hours by Luis Savondo Almanza, Aranana, Morning Martinez, and Sierra Petit, following an ill-fated Tinder date. The trio, aged between 19 and 26 at the time, invited the victim to a house party in Oklahoma City. After he asked to be paid back for the drinks he'd purchased for the group, tensions escalated and violence ensued. Almanza, Martinez, and Petit held the man captive, threatening him with a 12-gauge shotgun and a knife. He was forced into a car and the suspects drove him to several stores, using his bank cards to purchase various items, including clothes. They also allegedly destroyed the man's phone in order to keep him from calling for help. Before eventually releasing him, the three suspects threatened to harm him and his family if he contacted the authorities. The victim decided to report the incident nonetheless.
Yeah,
The
fuck
police
you, I'm
subsequently
reporting it.
arrested Almanza, Martinez, and Petit on charges of kidnapping and aggravated robbery. Number 6. Mika Ort. Mika Ort, a 21-year-old woman attending university in the Netherlands, was murdered by a Tinder date turned stalker on March the 8th of 2022. Ort, who was born to a Dutch father, had traveled from Massachusetts to Leeuwarden in 2020 in order to pursue her studies. She went on several dates with a 27-year-old man identified only as Thomas R., whom she'd met on the dating app before eventually deciding to rekindle her relationship with ex-boyfriend Michael van der Waal. Refusing to accept the young woman's rejection, Thomas tracked her down, placed a GPS device on her bike, and broke into her apartment. He proceeded to fatally stab Ort, also wounding 2 other men who were at the house at the time of the attack. Thomas fled the scene in the aftermath but was later turned into the authorities by his parents. Number 5. Jordan Cobbold. Jordan Cobbold, a 21-year-old resident of Suffolk, England, trashed Alicia Moy's apartment after she ended their Tinder romance on April the 9th of 2021. The couple had been dating for a month when Moy, aged 20 at the time, decided that they weren't a good match. Cobbold became irate and took the young woman's spare key in retaliation. Moy explained the breakup by expressing her belief that he'd grown too intense and needy. After she ended their relationship over text message, Cobbold blocked her number and waited until she left for work to enter her apartment. The scorned lover poured beans and spaghetti into her shoes, painted the walls with condiments and covered the vacuum cleaner with cooking sauce. Cobbold also severed cables on each of Moy's kitchen appliances, turned off the refrigerator's power, and threw cooking oil on the floor. The young man was arrested after his ex contacted the authorities about his infantile actions. In January of 2022, he accepted a plea deal in connection to charges of criminal damage and burglary. Cobbold was consequently ordered to serve 180 hours of community service, as well as 2 years of probation. He was also forced to pay his victim $1,750 in restitution and was forbidden from making any form of contact with Moy for 5 years. Number 4.
Yeah, I would have paid. I would pay someone to clean it up and send him a bill. 2022, that's what she did.
Attempted to assault his Tinder date, holding her at gunpoint in the garage of a Las Vegas hotel. The woman, whose identity wasn't made public, agreed to a meetup with Stuckey and got into his car, at which point he locked the doors and allegedly became violent. The man forced his victim into the back seat, demanding she perform intimate acts while threatening her with a firearm. During the course of the altercation, the woman somehow managed to use her phone to contact a friend, who helped her escape from the assailant's vehicle. Stuckey then sped away from the scene, hitting 2 other cars in the process. The 2 women contacted the authorities, providing them with Stuckey's license plate number, which eventually led to his arrest. He was charged with kidnapping and his bail was set at $10,000. Number 3. Sierra Wayman. Kentucky teen Sierra Wayman set up a meeting with Covington resident Peyton Browning over Tinder, secretly plotting to extort money from him. On September the 8th of 2020, Wayman invited Browning over to her house. Minutes after he arrived, 2 strangers knocked on the door. One of them was later identified as 19-year-old Philip Snyder, while the second man wasn't identified to the public. They attempted to assault Browning, who was carrying a weapon, and shot at his attackers in self-defense. Police subsequently arrived at the scene after having been contacted by Browning himself, and the 2 assailants were taken to the ER with non-fatal gunshot wounds. 19-year-old Wayman was taken to the Kenton County Jail on robbery charges.
Why would you get a face tattoo? That's
By the judge presiding over her case. Number 2, Joshua Hamblett, Sashwana Wilkins, and Keegan Profet. In 2019, 23-year-olds Joshua Hamblett and Sashwana Wilkins, along with 19-year-old Keegan Profet, were arrested in Ontario, Canada, after attempting to traffic a woman they'd met on Tinder. The woman, who chose to remain anonymous, told the police that she'd agreed to meet one of the suspects in a hotel room, but the man became violent once they were alone. It's suspected that Profet was the individual in charge of making initial contact with the victim, although his accomplices arrived at the hotel room shortly thereafter. After taking lewd pictures of the woman and uploading them online, the trio offered her services on the ad listing site Leo List. Hamblett, Wilkins, and Profet pressured her into performing escort services by threatening her family if she refused. They also confiscated the money she received during her appointments. The two 23-year-olds were arrested on December the 1st of 2019, while Profet managed to elude capture until the 18th. They were each charged with over a dozen combined offenses, including assault, making threats, and human trafficking. Police suspected the group of targeting other women with similar schemes and urged any of their past victims to come forward. Number 1. Jose Sandoval Juarez and Crystal Halsey.
Ew.
Jose Sandoval Juarez, 32, and Crystal Halsey, 33, were accused of catfishing a man on Tinder in order to carry out a robbery on September the 17th of 2022. When the unnamed victim showed up for a date with a woman he knew only as Sonia at a hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona, the two suspects allegedly held him at gunpoint, demanding his cell phone and bank account information. The man was then forced to drive his assailants to a nearby bank, where he withdrew $900 from his account. Juarez and Halsey subsequently took off on their own and managed to withdraw $3,000 more before the bank cards were reported stolen and deactivated. Detectives assigned to the case discovered that the couple had booked the hotel room using their real names, leading to their arrest on September the 28th. The suspects led police on a high-speed chase through several cities, driving on the wrong side of the road and attempting to carjack another vehicle before finally being apprehended. They were indicted for assault and armed robbery with a deadly weapon, as well as several other charges, as they awaited the continuation of their case's legal proceedings. Thanks for watching. Would you rather never be allowed to play any games on your phone again, or never be allowed to use a dating app? Let us know in the comments section.
Oh, I could go with that. I already don't use your dating apps. So.
We're born alone. We die alone. And in between, we spend our lives looking for something, connection. That's all we want. Every once in a while, we might find it in a true friend. Many friendships will come only to fade as quickly as a firework, but some, a rare and precious few, turn life up to 11 and keep it there. You gotta hold on to friends like these, because just like air, you'll miss them when they're gone. No one else gets it, but they do, because they know what's in your soul, your heart, your mind. They can blindside you, come out of nowhere, but you'll know them right away. You'll click as perfectly as a jack plug into an amp. They'll know what you're thinking before you've thought it. Anticipating your every move, they'll understand the demons as well as the angels inside of you, never judging you for it either. And together, you'll uncage a thrill that makes you surge with life. But don't be fooled. Friendships are not easy. You gotta put the effort in and take as good care of them as you do your own flesh. There will be good times and epic, adrenaline-filled challenges where it seems there's no way you can make it, but if you trust in one another and commit, you'll find a way, coming through together, closer, stronger. Even so, you, they, the world, in time, everything and everyone changes. Slowly, that boiling energy of young friendship will cool and be replaced by the bonds of a deep, mutual history, complete with the scars that tell the stories of a lifetime well lived. It's as inevitable as ripples altering their size. So don't fight it. Go with it. Ride it out. Together.
That was nice. Yeah, this Russian comic book.
Every Saturday, the Gotham Gazette includes a small lifestyles piece called Gotham Is. In the column, random Gothamites are asked to complete the sentence, Gotham is, using 3 words or less. The Gazette has been running the Gotham Is column for years, ever since I was a boy. Here's some of the words used to describe Gotham in the past few weeks. Damned. Cursed. Bedlam. Murderous. Gotham is villainous. Gotham is a losing game. Gotham is hopeless.
Let's get no way out, Bats.
I want his space.
Gotta tear you apart, Bats.
You're all ours now.
There's no place like home. Once in a while, someone names one of the city's villains as their answer to the Gotham Is question. Usually it's some kid, a teenager going for shock value. But now and then, someone actually tries to make the argument that the city is best reflected in its villains.
Come here, you son of a...
For example, Gotham is Two-Face, meaning Gotham is a city at odds with itself. Or Gotham is Killer Croc, meaning the city is little more than a cannibalistic monster. I've seen a few Mr. Freezes, 2 Black Masks. Lately I've seen a couple of new names appear too. But for me, Gotham's criminals.
After I kill you, I'm gonna become you.
Whether old or new, will never define this city.
Oh, got him.
Because in the end, they're simple and cowardly, ruled by predictive desires. Granted, now and then, one of them will do something that catches even me off guard.
Nowhere else to run now, Bats. Ooh, you're in trouble now.
Something particularly depraved. Or twisted.
There you are. And here I was beginning to think you were going to die without even saying goodbye.
You ready to do this?
Always so serious. Fine then. Let's cut to the punchline!
Bunker, what are you doing, you turned-out piece of shit?
Joker, what are you doing?
Behind you.
Got it!
What the hell is going on here?
Of course, one of the most common answers to the Gotham Is question is Batman. Gotham is Batman. Gotham is Batman City. Gotham is...
Why are the Joker and Batman fighting together?
All answers I'm partial to myself. Still, I like to think
That was
a
weird.
vote for Batman is a broader affirmation. A vote for all of Gotham's heroes. A vote for the GCPD. Honest, tireless men like Commissioner Jim Gordon.
I still don't understand. A full-scale breakout with no warning?
It wasn't a breakout.
Oh.
I've been investigating a weak link at Arkham Asylum. A guard named Matthews. I was coming for him. He sprang the doors to stop me.
Not Dan Matthews. He's one of the best men on payroll there. I've known him since he was an academy boy.
He's got a father with health problems. A divorce looming.
He and Bella are getting divorced? Huh. I had no idea.
Neither does she.
Ah, jeez. Who's the new pal?
Cocktail waitress. Iceberg Lounge. Impressive sheet of her own.
And you found him out how? You had a man on the inside?
Something like that.
Dan Matthews on the take at Arkham. There's nobody the scum of Gotham can't get to, is there?
I wouldn't say that.
One more thing. On the CC footage, it almost looks like you're fighting alongside the Joker. Tell me that'd be ridiculous.
That'd be ridiculous, Jim.
That's what I figured. Just a simple trick of the light.
Corey Ells, good book.
FTX tried to hide billions of dollars in fraud, and now their ex-CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, is trying to convince everyone it was an accident. He isn't such a bad guy. He just got in over his head. And already there are financial commentators like Kevin O'Leary willing to vouch for him.
I just think he's a very interesting.
They're throwing him under the
Over
bus.
time, we'll peel this onion, find out what happened. I don't think that guy has an evil bone in his body.
Now, it may not surprise you, but
How much money did you get from him?
for FTX, but even unpaid sources have parroted his claims. Take, for instance, the New York Times. They quote SBF saying he was just distracted, and that's why FTX fell apart. Quote, had I been a bit more concentrated, that would have allowed me to catch on to what was going on the risk side. That's right, guys. If he only hadn't played League of Legends, he might have noticed he was stealing customer money. Now, of course, the New York Times was roasted for their uncritical take on Sam, as was Kevin O'Leary. But even respected financial journalists that I personally like Matt Levine of Bloomberg, have recently floated theories around that maybe this is fraud, but maybe not. Quote, I don't want to minimize the likelihood of intentional fraud and theft, but I want to say that the story of FTX also reads like what would happen if you and a few college friends set up a gigantic international financial exchange. Your friends are traders and engineers, not accountants and compliance officers. They're running a huge exchange and are too busy for paperwork. They move fast and break things. Now, stories like that, to me, leave me wondering, well, was this fraud at all? Or was it just a couple of college grads who didn't know the value of an accountant? Could be either one, right? And I want to address this, not because anyone in the media specifically believes that Sam isn't a fraudster, besides Kevin O'Leary probably, because of course there are plenty of legal reasons not to explicitly call someone a fraud. But I still think it's relevant to address these ideas and narratives either way, because you can be certain this is going to be SBF's defense. He may have been dumb, he may have been negligent, he may have made some mistakes, but he isn't a criminal. He already came out and said it once. I effed up twice. But instead of mentioning fraud, he says it's because of poor internal labeling that FTX fell apart, which I mislabel things all the time. And in a way, that's a compelling, simple explanation. Don't attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity. Or in this case, don't attribute to fraud what you can attribute to a polycule of 20-year-olds in the Bahamas getting in over their heads. That is basically what he wants you to believe. And so I'm here to answer that question. Could it possibly be that FTX is just a story of negligence? Well, the short answer is no. And the long answer is hell no. Since FTX unraveled, I've been speaking to Alameda insiders, FTX insiders, even people who called out FTX months ago, like short seller Mark Cohodes. And the one thing I'm positive of after all of it is that Sam is probably the greatest con man of our generation. The only real question I have is why did it take us so long to find this out? Now, as I share the evidence that supports this claim, bear in mind, compiling a complete post-mortem on FTX is admittingly difficult. A paper shredder leaves behind better evidence than Sam Bankman-Fried. Fried. Well, not freed for long. He's going to probably be in jail soon. But until that sweet day arrives, just understand that I don't have the full story yet. Nobody does. Even the people who have full access to the back-end evidence are still puzzled. In fact, the main person tasked with handling the FTX bankruptcy process also handled Enron, which is the definition of complicated corporate fraud. So you'd think it'd be no big deal, right? Nope. FTX is worse than Enron. Quote, never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls. Not only that, he says that everything he got from SBF in the way of evidence he has, quote, no confidence in, which, isn't great. This is probably because A, Sam has lied, and B, it sounds like everything in his empire was a mess. Allegedly, FTX was approving expenses with, quote, personalized emojis, and that Sam was communicating with disappearing messages that were set to auto-delete after, quote, a short period of time. Not only that, Sam encouraged employees to do the same. So understand that we don't have a full picture of what happened yet, in part because, well, they deliberately avoided leaving one. And I would actually point to this as the first piece of evidence of fraud.
Yep.
You don't show up to the scene of a crime with billions missing and find out all the evidence is destroyed and say, oh darn, maybe they accidentally torched it. No, that in of itself is suspicious. And deleting your text messages and encouraging your employees to do the same, that just screams that you're hiding something. But even though they didn't leave us much to go on, there's still tons of breadcrumbs that lead us to the same conclusion. For example, take the corporate structure of FTX and all their subsidiaries. We've talked about this. It's incredibly complicated, but I'm supposed to believe that the guy who set this up is the same guy who didn't know it was wrong for him to take from one company and steal it. Isn't this the same guy whose parents are both compliance lawyers, sticklers for the rules? You're telling me that guy doesn't understand what basic fraud is? Incidentally, this is actually why Kevin O'Leary thought this was such a safe bet.
I'm a paid spokesperson to FTX and a shareholder there too, and big advocate for Sam because he has two parents that are compliance lawyers. If there's ever a place I could be that I'm not going to get in trouble, it's going to be at FTX.
Yikes. And yet, even after being defrauded, Kevin says given the chance, he'd bet on Sam again.
If SPF knocked on your door again and said, look, I failed in my last venture, I have a new crypto venture, I need money, would you back him?
That's a great question. No one's asked me yet. I think we can all admit, you can love him or hate him given what's happened, but he was one of the most brilliant traders in the crypto universe. He also built one of the most robust platforms. We used FTX actively. It was a very robust platform that allowed us to get information on a compliant basis. So I really like what he built.
Would you back him?
The answer would be yes.
Unbelievable. I don't understand how these people can't admit they were fooled by SBF and just end up making fools of themselves. Now, there's another part of this story I want to talk about, which was, of course, the revelation that FTX, the exchange, and Alameda Research, the trading firm, were actually sharing customer funds. And there's been some talk of, well, maybe this was just a lack of compliance or accounting. But I want to suggest to you that SBF was not lacking anything. He purposely and deliberately profited from the vague relationship between Alameda and FTX. And the first sign of this was when I spoke to an insider at Alameda. He told me that they would often use insider knowledge of the coins that were going to be listed on FTX, and then they would go buy those coins up knowing that it would pump in price when it was finally listed. In other words, an easy profit could be made. This, by the way, is similar to what happened on Coinbase, and 3 people were arrested for insider trading in that case. But unlike Coinbase, this wasn't rogue employees. This was Alameda itself doing this. So let me get this straight. If it was criminal when 3 individuals did it, what does it mean when an entire organization does it? I even asked the Alameda insider if they thought that it was criminal behavior, and they told me, quote, it was probably criminal in hindsight. Yeah, you know about the 2020 of hindsight. Sometimes you realize, wow, that was probably illegal. Now, this insider evidence is actually further validated by public reports that Alameda Research amassed swaths of tokens ahead of FTX saying it would list them, according to an analysis of public blockchain data. This is from the Wall Street Journal, and it just corroborates this insider testimony. There's insider trading going on at Alameda. So do you think someone, Sam, who is doing criminal activity is going to want a bunch of accountants and compliance people sniffing around? No, they're going to want criminals hanging around them. So with that said, and completely unrelated, guess who FTX chose as their chief regulatory officer? This guy, Dan Friedberg. Now, Dan's past is very important because he used to work for UltimateBet, a poker site which got in a lot of trouble and has a very shady past for reasons we've explained before.
UltimateBet got in trouble because they were giving some of their players a God mode that allowed them to see the other players' cards, which would obviously be an advantage if you're trying to play poker.
Wow. So Friedberg was working for UltimateBet during these God mode days. And although he was never charged with anything, there is leaked audio coming out from him conspiring to hide the owner of Ultimate Bet from facing any consequences from using it. Here's Russ Hamilton, the former owner of Ultimate Bet, who used God Mode and admits to making money with it, telling Friedberg that he wants to get out of this cheating scandal.
I feel, and I did take this money, and I'm not trying to make it right, Dan, so we got to get that out of the way real quick, okay?
So then Dan Friedberg replies to Russ that maybe they should just blame it all on a third-party consultant and say that was who used the God Mode on their website instead of Russ himself.
I think for the public, it just has to be former consultant to the company, took advantage of a server flaw by hacking into the client, been able to identify exactly when. Sometimes he played with it, sometimes he played without it. Sometimes he intentionally won, and sometimes he intentionally lost. Very erratic play. But we've been able to identify the times when the tool was up and their net wins. And that's what And what you could also say is that the tool was originally set for a 15-minute delay, and he hacked it to a real time. You
No, I
can.
think that's what we do. So this is the guy they hired at FTX as their chief regulatory officer, a guy who once conspired to hide his cheating boss. And of course, there are more red flags about the relationship between FTX and Alameda. You might assume that, like, okay, if it was negligence, maybe everyone inside the organization was just sharing information with everyone. There was no walls in place, right? And that's what created the conflicts of interest. But that doesn't match with what we've heard. I personally have spoken to FTX insiders who said they were blindsided by the collapse. They didn't know anything. The Wall Street Journal also reports that FTX employees were completely in the dark, which corroborates that. So FTX employees had no idea what was going on at Alameda. Meanwhile, the Alameda employees, on the other hand, knew exactly what was going on at FTX. They had back-end access. So this relationship wasn't uncontrolled, it was one-sided. Back to the God Mode analogy, it was almost as if they specifically set up their crypto exchange to be pilfered by their traders without anyone knowing. Almost like they had a back door. Oh yeah, they did end up building a back door. I forgot, their CTO built a back door to avoid triggering red flags. See, it's hard to call things like this accidents or negligence. It's literally designed to be hidden. Alameda had a one-way window into FTX to steal whatever they wanted from client funds, and I do mean steal, not misappropriate, not negligently lose, steal. But unbelievably, the way it's quoted in like the New York Times, you'd think this was some kind of loan they took out, a margin position it's called. But we know now it wasn't a margin position. Alameda apparently had a secret exemption from certain aspects of FTX.com's auto liquidation protocol, according to their new CEO. So this large margin position isn't a margin position at all, because they could never be liquidated. And I'm sure Dan Friedberg might be somewhere on a call trying to figure out how to blame a rogue employee on this secret exemption. But let's be honest with ourselves. Alameda knew what they were doing was criminal. That's why they call it a secret exemption. And they were even willing to lie about it to keep it a secret. Alameda CEO, Caroline Ellison, denied special access to Bloomberg News, saying, "We definitely have a Chinese wall in terms of information sharing to ensure that no one at Alameda would get customer information from FTX or any sort of special treatment from FTX." But obviously, this was a lie. Here's Sam Bankman-Fried lying too. Quote, Alameda is a wholly separate entity. Well, we know that isn't true either. Looking back, it was obvious because even when you'd wire them money to FTX, the international wiring instructions were to Alameda Research. Not exactly separate. And so after finding all of this out, I spoke to Mark Cohodes, who called out SBF as a fraud much earlier than almost anyone else. And I asked him his thoughts, and he said, this was all obvious a mile away.
I knew something was wrong a year ago because everything this guy said, and you can play all his interviews back, nothing added up. You know, nothing added up. If people ask me a question, I will give them an answer or say, I don't know. I won't talk in a figure eight. You know, I won't answer a question with a non-answer again and again and again. Nothing this guy said has ever made a lick of sense. And if he would have come to my office looking for money, I would have told him to hit the bricks because nothing added. I mean, they didn't even figure out that his accountant's address was somewhere in the metaverse.
Wow.
Find out who the guy's auditor is and say, who's
Right.
your auditor? Oh, my auditor's name is the Pep Boy, Manny, Mo, and Jack. Okay, what's his address? Somewhere in the metaverse. Is this a joke? No, I'm serious.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely that can't be true that the auditor of FTX was located in the metaverse. But checking their official bankruptcy filings, that is the case.
Holy
and
shit.
Now, because no one looked into it, FTX owes $3.1 billion to its top 50 creditors alone. And I guess if they have complaints, they can go to the metaverse and ask about it. I'm just kidding. Well, kind of. I actually don't think they probably take complaints in the metaverse. Either way, the question of was Sam Bankman-Fried a fraud is not much of a question at all. The real question is, why did so few people catch on early, and why didn't the media catch on sooner? I'm not sure. We can speculate. Maybe it was because of political donations or this whole story about effective altruism. But ultimately, what I know for sure is that people like Mark Cohodes, they weren't silent. He says he took it to journalists before the crash to see if they'd do anything, and they said no.
I went to Bloomberg with my pal who I was working on this thing with, and we laid it out to five ladies on the crypto team, and they passed, and they said it would be too much work, we'd lose access, it's bad for business, right? They'd hang up on us if we asked these questions. Well, at least I had the questions.
Wait,
I don't have a
Bloomberg
PR firm.
denied a story with you because they thought it would lose them access and it was too much work?
Yes, 100%.
When? When did this happen?
This happened in July. This happened in early July. They had everything. They had everything.
Wow.
They also said, but I didn't want anyone fired. I didn't want anyone fired, so I didn't give them this. They said it was bad for business, i.e. advertising.
You're kidding. So they admit their conflict of interest with advertisers in the crypto space.
Yes.
Now, this is pretty shocking allegations, so I did want to reach out to Bloomberg for comment to see if they wanted to respond to this, and here's what they said.
Well, of course not. Accountability, what?
You found me. You found my TikToks. So you know what? We're friends now. Fist me.
That's cool. I've turned a couple lesbians straight back in my day. It's nothing new to me.
Call me crazy like I didn't warn you. Yeah. Did you think I was just joking?
Her doing this on TikTok is the definition of crazy.
Did you think I was just playing around?
Oh golly, oh gosh, this is about to be an immaculate dinner.
So I met a guy that
Let's go back a second. What is this? And why would you do it? It's in his toilet. I have no words.
So I met a guy that I really enjoyed spending a lot of time with, and he's a great guy. There's nothing wrong with him.
Okay.
But I am out of my hoe phase. I really want to commit. I really want a partner right now.
Oh, no.
This works. You get out of your hoe phase. Can you fall back into the hoe phase? You like fall off the wagon like an alcoholic. And if you say you're out of your
Can't
hoe
make
phase,
a whole housewife.
way to spot a low-value man? Tell him about your herpes status and see how he reacts. No matter what, we are all going to have health conditions at some point in our life.
wait a second. So you meet a Tinder hookup. You're sitting there about to get to the nasty, and the date goes, "Hey, I got herpes." Yeah, I'm gonna cut out. I mean, I don't need the extra hang-ups here. But that means you're low value.
Likely some heart disease or cancer is going to come
so
up
it's the
along
same
the way,
thing.
and that is
Got it.
stressful, and that is not easy to deal with, no matter who gets it. But statistically, men are much more likely to leave their wives after a cancer diagnosis than women are to leave their husbands.
All right, so she's equating a cancer diagnosis to her telling a potential partner she's got herpes and them cutting out. I'm trying to understand how to connect the dots here. So you've been married to someone 10 years, and if you don't want herpes when you first meet, that means that you'll cut out later? Is that how this logic works?
So if he can't handle a benign skin condition or possibly getting that, then chances are he's part of that 20% that won't be able to handle helping take care of you when you are seriously.
All right, so let's see
What?
here. So if you don't want to date
Oh.
somebody knowingly, first date that's got the herpes,
Watch
you
out
won't
for
take
the
care of
nurses,
them long
fellas.
term. So if you are married 10 years, you're going to cut out
They're
because by your
dangerous.
logic, if you don't want herpes on the first few dates, you wouldn't take care of them. They got some major catastrophe. Does that make sense to anybody here?
Let's just say a certain individual thought that I would be better off with it, so they got it with me. For there are two things that a master cannot be at without. His blade
hunting knife.
and his crown.
All right, so he's got a blade and a fedora. He's in mom's basement. He's got man boobs from OD of soy and G Fuel. What do you think this stay-at-home son does for a living? Is he a student, PhD program maybe, ex-Twitter employee?
I, in fact, have two blades. The blade of life and the blade of a gamer.
Oh, he's a gamer. How did I know? He's probably a real successful content creator. A hunting knife that he opens Amazon packages with, and a gamer blade. I guess that's a Wii thing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
On guard.
He's
Help us.
crying his eyes out with dust, and they're playing D&D.
Yeah, I bet. How did I know that?
I have dated doctors and drug
Okay.
dealers,
Okay.
billionaires, and guys who are broke.
All right, so do you think she's dated billionaires? I'm not talking OF date or a date for cash. She's dated them. I'm not believing it.
And guess what?
Right,
They're all
what?
the same.
Right?
Trash.
Got it.
I don't know who the hell you're calling a poser, but I'm freaking damn not. And when you see some proof, here, I own Slipknot Subliminal Versus album, and I own Slayer South of Heaven CD.
Does it make you a non-poser if your mom drives to Walmart and buys CDs for you? Does it make you like legit headbanger band fan? Does it make you in the mosh pit at a Metallica concert? Is this guy? Come on.
Number one,
roller
always
coaster.
being the nice guy. Girls will never like a nice guy like
I just wanted to let y'all know I will officially be hitting the wall in a few days. Now, I had already hit the wall when I turned 30, but I'm officially hitting it at 35 in a few days. And per Red Pill, I am leftovers and don't know me.
You know, I got a real question. We're dumping more money in education, and I don't care what color you are. I'm finding it hard to understand Gen Z. So I'm having to go to the Urban Dictionary a lot to understand exactly what they're saying. It's all colors. Like, we don't speak English anymore. It's like a new version of woke Urban Dictionary language.
And want me, so therefore I will be embracing
Therefore.
my down alone era with my dog Brody. And I do want it to be known it's not really that bad at the wall.
My name is Dracula Lucifer. I'm not Satan, because I'm not a Satanist.
Now, if someone forced you to describe this guy on the screen, how would you describe him? Based on the words and what he looks like? Is there something like, is he on the spectrum? I mean, who does this? Wait, hold on.
People who like Cupid and Cupcake. No, that is not what it means.
All right, so let me explain how this person works. Female who identifies as male, he, him pronouns, dating a woman. So does that, hear me out for a second, does that make it a heterosexual... So does that make it a heterosexual relationship? You got somebody who thinks they're a man with an innie with a woman, or does it make it just a run-of-the-mill garden variety lesbian relationship? Trying to be hip and understand what's going on here.
Stupid head. Oh.
Right.
Oh, well, they still like cupcakes, probably, right?
Ma'am, do you know, like, where I gotta go to, like, try and figure out? Because I'm not sure if I'm gonna be going or not. Because yesterday, I was supposed to get my permission slip signed, but I didn't go. So,
Woman's like, permission slip. Speaking of my Goodyear, Sonny, what the hell are you talking about? Get the marbles out of your mouth. It's always a prank, a skit. This woman's trying to figure out, why is he recording me on his phone? What's going on here? Is this like a super shopper spy guy?
what aisle is that on?
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Nick Bandady. I'm coming back at you with another hot dating tip for the day. So,
all right, so if you see this guy on TikTok who's in a smoke-filled room, would you think this is the man I want to go to for dating tips? He's got it all figured out. He's like Jack Murphy. He's like the alpha male stud is going to help me find, really hot 10 out of 10 females.
on the subject of dakimakuras, the Japanese hug pillows, basically what it is it's a body pillow with a cover case that depicts your preferred waifu. And there's no shame in owning these, but I want...
Oh, there's a lot of shame in owning it. So if you're an adult and you
Fist me. Binga. Binga, chirp. Binga.
That's cool. I've turned a couple lesbian.
This guy on the screen. How would you describe him based on the words?
I think that's my buddy Jack.
Is there something like? Is he on the spectrum? I mean, who does this? Oh, wait, hold on.
I knew a kid like that at a camp for kids recovering from cancer.
All right, so let me explain how this person works. Female who identifies.
That looks like exactly like the kid.
Dating a woman. So does that, hear me out for a second, does that make it a heterosexual? So does that make it a heterosexual relationship? You got somebody who thinks they're a man with an innie with a woman, or does it make it?
My man Jack have a TikTok. I don't know about.
Relationship. Trying to be hip and understand what's
My little buddy.
Right.
Well, they still like cupcakes, probably, right?
Ma'am, do you know like where I gotta go to like try and figure out? Because I'm not sure if I'm gonna be going or not. Because yesterday, I was supposed to get my permission slip signed, but I didn't go. So
woman's like, permission slip. Speaking of my good ear, Sonny, what the hell are you talking about? Get the marbles out of your mouth. It's always a prank, a skit. This woman's trying to figure out, why is he recording me on his phone? What's going on here? Is this like a super shopper spy guy?
what aisle is that on?
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Nick Bandady. I'm coming back at you with another hot dating tip for the day. So,
all right, so if you see this guy on TikTok who's in a smoke-filled room, would you think this is the man I want to go to for dating tips? He's got it all figured out. He's like Jack Murphy. He's like the alpha male stud is going to help me find, really hot 10 out of 10 females.
on the subject of dakimakuras, the Japanese hug pillows. Basically, what it is, it's a body pillow with a cover case that depicts your preferred waifu. And there's no shame in owning these, but I want.
Oh, there's a lot of shame in owning it. So if you're an adult and you have one, and a girl comes over, or anybody comes over, you need to hide the thing under your bed. Lots of shame in having a waifu body pillow on your bed.
I warn you guys, if you have one of these and you go to the bar or the club and you convince some fly young honey to come home with you for a night of
run in immediately and hide it under the bed far. Tell her never to look there. It should never be there because she will run out the door and think you've got a skin suit in your basement.
passionate romance, as soon as she gets into your bedroom, she's gonna see that thing on your bed. She's gonna think you're weird.
You in her DM, I'm in her mouth, we not the same. Flipping the funk, the heat, the fire, got the flame. Came with the gift, the gab, and blessed with lots of game. Pretty mad at me, they know I'm not to blame. You in her DM, I'm in her mouth, we not the same.
So for me, gender is complicated because
got it.
I would rather not be associated with it to the point where I would rather not be a human or even an animal. I would like to be an inanimate object.
All right, so I thought we were supposed to be kind and loving to this crowd, but instead she wants to be treated like an inanimate object. Okay, got it.
It's pronouns, but nobody uses them for me. I just have them in my bio.
Sure.
Nobody's comfortable with them. But I would like people to use them because that further removes me from the gender binary to the point where I am just an object.
It's cute to pretend you don't have a gender, but when you got to go to the store to buy tampons, you do have a gender. When you're going to see the doctor, it may be important to say, yeah, I have ovaries and breast. So gender is somewhat important.
Piece of grass, if you will. So I would just like to not be a human being, let alone have a gender.
I don't understand what is so hard about correcting other people when they misgender others. Like,
let me tell you, sweetie, why it's so hard. You people pushed it too far. You jammed it down.
Way too far.
Dr. Levine, Woman of the Year. a man. So now people don't want to do it.
Yep, you get to lose your job if you don't.
That's why it's so hard.
If you hurt, like Dave Chappelle said, you can walk into a Walmart and kill it, N-bomb, but don't you dare hurt a trans person's feelings. They'll completely unperson you, which is, completely fair, right?
Get my pronouns right. I know I changed them today. People just get fed up with it. They don't want to deal with you. They don't care.
And in Canada, you can be arrested for misgendering somebody.
If you expect people to stand up,
Look it up. Think I'm lying? Look it up.
Living a delusion. People are busy with their own shit. You're an adult now. It's time to do adult things. Now, saying all that, on the surface, generally people will be kind. And if you got to know this individual, you'd want to help. But I don't know her. So how can I really care? I could pretend care like Facebook care, but I don't.
And I just have to keep white-knuckling this?
This is a message for any future teacher of my daughter. If you're going to teach her about racism, if you're going to teach her that she has white privilege, and that white supremacy is a bad thing, if you're going to talk about race in the classroom, if you're going to talk about skin tone in the classroom, if you're going to read books to her that showcase a diverse cast of characters, I just have 2 words to say to you. Thank you, because white privilege does exist, and her.
So does white privilege exist for her daughter, who's 6 years old? Does the kid need to know about it? Does the kid need to be told, hey, you're white, you have white privilege. See that kid that's darker than you, your friend who's Hispanic, you victimize them and you're the oppressor, 6-year-old girl. Does that work? Does that help children?
Not going to get hurt, because white privilege is not a bad thing. It's what you choose to do with that privilege that could be a good or a bad thing.
Well, based on people like this, my pretend white privilege, I ain't giving it up. I don't trust these people at all. They would do anything to eradicate civility. Until you're in a group and you're bending the knee and kissing the ring, it'll never be enough. Even if you said, I have white privilege, where do I kiss the ring? It still won't be enough, ever.
And most white people, they just don't talk about race. Or worse, they claim to be colorblind, which we know is extremely harmful. So thank you for doing that, because it's really important.
So if you say you're colorblind, that's harmful. So should you say you're not colorblind? You don't like anybody, but the person looks just like you. I mean, what do they want from us? You try and say, listen, my nephew is of mixed race. I adopted
I'm an equal opportunity asshole. I hate everybody.
you white supremacist bastard.
My kid
So,
knows the truth. You're backing up.
there we go.
at home, and this is the first step to becoming anti-racist, is to, talk about race. Thank you.
So here's a little bit of update on life. I am currently out of work on medical leave because...
All right, so you think medical leave like a serious medical condition, right? Oh, no, it's better than that. Stand by.
Of severe burnout. I will be off on FMLA leave for 6 to 12 weeks. Fortunately, because I am a teacher.
This person's a teacher, and they're on medical leave for severe burnout. So when you hire the mentally ill, they get burned out very easily. So now you and I are paying for their time sitting at home playing games on Twitch, which you'll hear about. And why are they burned out, do you think? Stand by.
I'm an employee, 6 of those are paid, so it's like half pay for the 12 week, which still isn't great. It basically just covers rent and a little bit of food, which is all I eat anyways. But this has been an issue that I've been going through for a while. Actually, basically my whole transition, because dealing with, misgendering and transition stuff.
So they're burned out for being misgendered. So you and I are paying with our tax dollars for this person to sit at home on their ass because they're burned out from their teaching job because a couple people may or may not have misgendered them.
Dude,
can you see this?
I have
I don't
tumors
know if it really happened, but
that
can you see
grow on my nerve endings,
this and sit around and do nothing?
And all that.
especially ones on my main spine.
It's a lot of work.
It took me 3 fucking years
Your mental illness is not
to
my
get
problem.
on
I
disability.
understand you're special. You got the 8th place trophy. Mommy
But
said, "Oh, you're the smartest in the room, Johnny." But
people
your
like
mental illness
these
is not my problem.
that have no visible anything.
Talk to your family, your priest, your sun god,
Oh,
whatever. But I can't.
I'm
help you.
disabled.
That's frequent because I don't know what to make.
Give me money.
And I haven't been streaming on Twitch because
I'm sad. Give me money.
I kind of just play video games by myself and talk with friends. Well, and my partners. But yeah, so that's what I'm up to, and it's kind of hard to post work stories when you're not working.
Yeah.
So here's a little bit of...
Ugh. Our society is doomed. Oops.
today's topic.
Boom. That's such a Jamaican and New York thing. All right, so boom. New York people don't know it's from Jamaicans. It's just that Jamaicans, they fucking use it at the end of the sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. Boom. What we talk about? Yeah. So me go over there, so, and me gotta take the thing, right? Take the money. Boom. So what happened? All right. Okay, so boom. It's just two different. Anyways, never mind. That's just all right. I'm sorry.
Jamaican. Speaking of Jamaicans, BBLs.
What you got to do about Jamaicans?
I don't know. I thought about daggering for some reason. And
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
I've seen women trying to dagger without a booty, and it more looked like a.
It hurts right here.
Like a wet plank.
It hurts right here.
Forget a dagger.
Bones.
There's nothing sharp. Nothing flat about that bitch. It's just a plywood. Okay. So BBLs. I feel like BBLs now are here to stay. They're not just here to stay. I think in the near future they're going to be the new normal in that most women, or like a large majority of them, large chunk of them, are going to have BBLs.
It's a possibility. I think that, well, it's either going to stay or even going to leave. Like, I think it's not necessarily going to stay. It's not going to stay because not a lot of people are here for the maintain of the BBL. A lot of people that get the BBL are not maintaining that shit properly. A lot of people, so that shit is dropping really quick and it's ugly and it's uneven. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't think it's going to stay. And if it stays, it's just going to be a bunch of uglies walking. I mean, walking bump. You hear?
I completely disagree. BBLs are a game changer. For those watching who have been confused by why we're using this acronym, BBLs are Brazilian butt lift. It's essentially when girls get their ass done.
Yeah.
But here's what's crazy about it.
What's crazy about it?
Unlike the breast job,
they do not put something foreign in your body.
It's not silicone.
Nope.
They're taking fat and they're transplanting it. But you guys ready? This is the really crazy part. If you look at a bunch of girls' Instagrams right now who are popping, right? And you look at their ass, you might not be able to tell they have a BBL. The reason why is because you're looking in the wrong spot.
Right.
You're supposed to look at their stomach.
Yeah.
Because a BBL also doubles up as a form of a tummy tuck, or almost like a liposuction.
It's a
for the
liposuction.
midsection. What they end up doing is they're taking a lot of the fat around the midsection, the hips, to give them that hourglass shape, and they adding just a tad bit of it to the ass. So the ass is like kind of modest, but they're also getting the hourglass shape. Women have literally reconfigured their body using like basically editing tools, like fucking Tetris, okay? And they getting fat booties looking like pears and shit, based off of just a surgery that transplants fat. Even when you grab a BBL, they're well done. It don't even feel bad. You know what I mean? Like, if you grab some titties, like, you can feel the difference.
You can feel the bag.
Huh?
You can feel the bag.
When you grabbing a BBL, sometimes you can't tell. That's why I'm saying they're here to stay. Surgery's getting so advanced that it's replacing the new normal. It's kind of like Cyberpunk 2077.
That garbage ass game.
That world where like cyber implants are normal, that's the norm.
Oh, it's gonna
I think surgery
Oh,
is
yeah.
only gonna go
Oh,
further.
dude.
Yes,
The editing
Oh,
is going to
dude.
become more extensive, and that's
Sign
why
my
surgery
ass
is here
up
to stay.
for some
Not only here to
Cyberpunk
stay,
gear.
It's gonna be the new normal.
Not the
Because
game.
Why would you go your whole life? You know what I mean?
But, like,
wanting a certain shape.
You just
and
get
not
like
getting it,
new
you can
eyes.
Just pay anywhere
Just
from
new
6
eyes.
to 10 grand. Go get it done.
New eyes.
School bell a ring.
Oh, you want to be able to have night vision? All right.
Good, my people.
Look it
I
up.
hope everybody is doing
Hell yes.
great. I know you like superheroes. Superheroes I'm talking to you about is the Loki wave. What is that? Oh, I'm going to tell you what that is.
Oh boy.
And then it vibrates. Yeah. Has that thing really, it's definitely going to stay. But it's that BBL is very dangerous. It's very fucked up. It's very, yeah.
Okay. This is how you know it trickles down. Every celebrity, like so many of them have gotten it, even the ones you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Right?
Some people that you think that are natural.
No. Like rhinoplasty. No surgery, super common now.
Yeah.
Botox, nobody even bats an eye. Getting your lips done, nobody even cares no more. That's what's going to happen to be. And then it's going to go even further from there. One day they're going to have a whole surgery you can do to get your eyes change the color.
Yeah, definitely.
Who needs natural? Nobody gives a fuck no more. Bitch, you can have yellow eyes? We doing that.
Yeah.
Definitely you can.
Yeah.
With like contacts?
Contacts.
No, it's a contact that goes inside the eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's kind of new, so
Heard of
it's
those?
not mainstream yet. But all this to say, the future is looking like that.
You can't change color of your eyes by fucking with the lens.
You know, the whole
Because
BBL
that's what
thing,
I have.
craze was
I
interesting.
think it's the left eye that I
So I was
had
looking at some of them
cataract
tattoos
surgery on.
And then someone
And my
was telling me,
eye
he was like, "No, you're looking
color
that's why you gotta look
changed.
at the stomach, because
It's like
what
a
ends up
greenish
happening
instead of
is
brown.
What these women are doing to get the hourglass shape is they're removing the fat here and then putting.
So
it
they,
here.
yeah, they could,
But what's
they could
weird
totally
about
do
it is
that.
They got this hourglass shape and they got the ab line showing, but they got cellulite around their legs, which is just not possible. If you got a low body fat as a woman where your abs are showing, you shouldn't have tremendous amount of fat deposits around your legs, but they do because it's unnatural. Get me?
Except if you have a condition, but yeah, most generally speaking, that's not normal.
Right. And so, because the practice is so unnoticed, as a woman, and it's not even a critique, I'm not even get mad. Like, as a woman, why wouldn't you get one? It makes you way more desirable. You pay, what, 8 to 10 grand? Have results.
Depending on where you go.
Yes, you could go to Turkey and get it for cheaper.
Turkey's more the dental stuff.
And the hair transplants?
The hair transplant and the dental stuff is in Turkey. But Colombia, Dominican Republic.
If you get the local prices instead of the foreign ones, you'd be surprised. So all this to say, we put such an emphasis on ladies to look good and to be very physically attractive. And here you have these surgeries that are looking more and more seemingly attractive and also offering the most ideal body type that most men like, which is that hourglass shape. Because I know women who've gotten BBLs who don't even have fat asses. You guys are thinking about the dump trunks or like the fucking diaper look. I'm not talking about that. There's super modest ones that they're getting now that like people never know about.
Super modest.
That shit sags and drops. Because added weight to your buttocks, it's gravity's gonna do its work.
Oh yeah.
It's not everybody that's willing to do the work.
That old diaper looks good.
Jobs, obviously.
Ooh.
See that because people are not willing to.
Old Kim Kardashian behind.
I think most of the people who get it done do the work. Yeah, because you're only thinking about you're only thinking about the hard
No, I
stories.
take that back. No, it's not that. It's that the people that don't do the job, that's what you see.
Exactly.
That's what you see.
Exactly.
The ones that actually do the work, you don't see them.
Or even this. Some people get such modest BBLs, the work that needs to be done is so minimal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we thinking about the horror stories. Where's the but the bitch got a big ass hole, like, that ass is huge. The women I'm talking about, you can barely tell.
Yeah.
They went from no booty to having a nice look.
Yeah.
So, all this to say, I question, like, if this is going to be the new normal, we're just going to self-edit. Where does it end? And I'm actually curious, ladies, how would, like, if BBLs are normal now, everyone's kind of accepting them, okay? Even guys, a lot of them are, like, fine with it nowadays. Because if you look at polls, like, a lot of dudes, they'll say they don't like it, but the women that they go after, the women that they just lust after, the women that they're even willing to date, they'll still date them. I wonder, if guys are now getting surgeries to increase their height or increase their dicks, are women going to be with it? I think they would.
Yeah, BDL. Brazilian dick lift.
That's a different one.
But
that's a different one.
But
that's a different one.
Yeah, but
and then if editing becomes a new normal, what does that do for people's self-esteem? I wonder. It's no longer work with your flaws or improve on things. It's like you can just change anything and everything.
Yeah, people are.
Which
the
is
thing
crazy.
that happen. People think that happen is that they're gonna change the exterior, but they're not gonna change the mental. And that's what happened. And that's right there is a whole ass mental health issue because you went all to this trauma, and from like day and night you become something else. Day and night, whenever there's a quick change in your lifestyle, there's some work to be done mentally. Whenever you go to super poor to super rich, there's something to work on with your mental health. When you go from not being noticed and then having all the attraction, the attention on you, there's some work to be done with your mental health, and it's not everybody that are willing to do the work. And I don't know what the fuck that's gonna happen in the future, but it is what it is. It's gonna be what it is.
It is crazy to think about, though, no?
What?
That's going to be the future.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny is that everything that's being done right now is all things that they were laughing at us when we were in elementary. They were laughing at girls for having a big booty. Yeah, fat ass. And now they're having fat asses. Mm-hmm. They were laughing at motherfuckers for having lips. Yeah, you look like a baboon. Like they look like a fucking baboon. Next fucking surgery is going to be like a Brazilian nose lift. I don't know. Make your nostrils bigger.
I doubt that one's
No, I doubt that one too, but you know, it's still funny.
Yeah.
It's still funny.
The future is going to be an interesting place. And I wonder what you guys think. I think most of the comments are going to be against it. And I think it's easy to like kind of virtue to that. outwardly because I think everyone wants the whole idea of natural. But I have to ask, when everything that dudes on social media are grasping towards or shining a whole light on in terms of like women having huge asses and big titties and all this other stuff, right? I have to wonder how much of it is just a bunch of virtue stuff and how much it is real. Because it seems like dudes really do be clamoring against women who are unnatural. They don't really care that much. Maybe I'm wrong, but most of the big ass Instagrams I see, them women are not natural.
No.
Them women are not natural.
So are they watching because it's nice, or are they watching because it's a fetish or a freak show? I don't know.
I think this. People say like, oh no, they're just liking them on Instagram. Doesn't mean they would actually date them. I don't believe that 1 second. I think most of those dudes who are out there in those comment sections saying, babe, you so hot. If they had one fucking opportunity to sniff that girl's toilet seat, they would lick the whole bowl. They would redo her bathroom just to get in the tubes and sniff out them farts. I believe that.
Yep.
I believe that.
Yep.
If you simping that hard in the comments, you wishing for a chance to lick some toes.
Yeah.
You want to get that crust in between each fucking molecule. Yeah. Yeah, you trying to get nasty with it.
This motherfucker went graphic.
I'm just saying. I that kind of desperate where you like, damn, you so fuck. I don't know. I don't buy the whole idea that they wouldn't get with a woman who's unnatural.
Oh, they would.
I don't buy that. And them comment sections are full of thirst.
Oh.
I wonder.
Don't you dare talk shit about her.
So for me,
Because you get tore apart by all the Sims.
So for me, gender is complicated because
got it.
I would rather not be associated with it to the point where I would rather not be a human or even an animal. I would like to be an inanimate object.
All right, so I thought we were supposed to be kind and loving to this crowd, but instead she wants to be treated like an inanimate object. Okay, got it.
It's pronouns, but nobody uses them for me. I just have them in my bio. Nobody's comfortable with them. But I would like people to use them because that further removes me from the gender binary to the point where I am just an object.
It's cute to pretend you don't have a gender, and you got to go to the store to
This
buy
woman wants to
tampons
be an
so you do have a
object.
gender. When you're going to see the doctor, it may be important.
Oh, feminism.
Breast. So gender is somewhat important.
Piece of grass, if you will. So I would just like to not be a human being, let alone have a gender.
I don't understand what is so hard about correcting
Hey, it's
other
female
people
Justin
when they
Bieber.
misgender others. Like,
Let me tell you, sweetie, why it's so hard. You people pushed it too far. You jammed it down people's throats.
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Levine, Woman of the Year, a man. So now people don't want to do it because you never stop. It's never enough with you people. That's why it's so hard.
it takes you like 2 seconds, but you know what it takes for me to have to constantly
care,
do that?
sorry.
A lot of unnecessary
Oh, wait.
emotional
We
labor
watched
that
this
I
one.
already have to
Sorry. We watched this one. Devil Artemis.
Why, hello! What's that? What am I doing? Well, I'm enjoying a crusade, of course, on Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, no. No! The cringe. I'll save you. Oh.
My database indicates there is a 99% chance this is a new plan to kill Son Goku.
I really doubt it this time.
$5 tells you we are.
Children, welcome. The others should be joining us shortly.
Others?
God, this place
Yes.
still looks like shit. Oh. Hello.
Great. What's he doing here?
He's just a valid member of this family as anyone else, 17.
That's easy for you to say. We've been inside that thing.
And you literally fisted me to death. Oh, we're that kind of family.
Okay, he's taking that out of context.
He's really not.
It's not really.
You're up to your elbows in the old man.
Is this what it's like to have siblings? Because I hate it.
Enough bickering. You're all probably wondering why I've gathered you here today.
To kill Son Goku?
Okay, well, yes, that is why I gathered you here today, actually.
Yeah, better idea, Pops. How about we all participate in a nice, healthy family activity?
I refuse.
Oh, come on. A little family competition never hurt anyone. Agreed. My database suggests that competition is indeed healthy. Perhaps a contest to see who can kill Son Goku first. Don't listen to him. We can start with something basic. Perhaps a family game. I didn't kill Goku. What? No, damn it, 16. That is not a game.
I'm not doing anything with this creep.
Oh, you're just as much a part of me as I am you, my dear.
If you need me, I'll be throwing up in the corner.
So what about you? Are you like a cowboy or something?
What? Now you care to ask?
Okay, well, I was a bit occupied with the whole, you know.
Sucking people with your booty straw?
That's not what it's called.
It's what it is, and you know it.
I
The
didn't
booty
design
straw.
the fucking thing. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, I would know.
Enough. We must seize this opportunity and find a way to kill Sun.
Oh heavens, did I do that? Sorry. Sometimes I don't know my own strength. Cell? Is that you? Look at you! I haven't seen you since you were in a test tube. Aw, and you're cute too.
Yeah. I don't know who she is.
Oh, that's right. You never met Jero's wife and kid, did you?
Wait. He fucks? My database suggests that Dr. Jero indeed fucks. Oh god, I see it when I close my fucking eyes!
You seem to be quite the specimen. Kind of funny, too. Maybe you could let me run a few tests. If you don't mind, that is.
Well, yes, of course.
This is blasphemy. I will not allow for such treachery in my lab again.
I regret nothing.
Okay, can we all calm the hell down? Is this a bad time?
I can't explain.
Oh, you motherfucker!
Alright, I know it's been a few months, but you guys gotta have a little bit more faith in me. There is no way I was gonna forget about the Universe Zero Saga and our Omni Goku and Omega Vegeta What If that surprisingly did so well, and I'm really thankful to you guys for that. So after a grueling battle that involved confrontation with the Grand Priest himself, Omni Goku and Omega Vegeta were just unable to defeat or even match the Grand Priest. And before we go any further, guys, if you are not caught up on our Dragon Ball Super God of Destruction Vegeta Saga What If, definitely be sure to go check that out. It's a lot of original content that we made here ourselves, and it's about 13 or 14 parts long, if I'm not mistaken, so there is a lot to catch up on.
However, really quickly before our video, allow me to introduce, drumroll please, Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, no!
A loot pack that's worth almost...
Yeah.
The difference was simply just too big. No matter what they did, it was all for naught. The Grand Priest always seemed infinitely stronger than them, but when defeat meant the complete erasure of Universe 7 and victory was improbable, the final card and the one that helped the Z-Fighters persevere through many dreadful situations in the past was the fusion. It was time for Vegito once again. Death is inevitable, but if they can just make the Grand Priest take back the decision to revert Universe 7 back to nothingness, then that's enough success for them. That'd be the best case scenario, and so Vegeta entrusts Broly with whipping the other Saiyans into shape. But even the fusion of Omni Goku with the newly evolved Destroyer Vegeta wasn't enough to make the Grand Priest hinge. Celestial Vegito is effortlessly defeated. In his final moments, when Goku and Vegeta are separated, Goku's mind was already numb. The chaos of Omni Ki exhausted everything out of him, while Vegeta spits blood as he tells the Grand Priest about the day he'll somehow return and destroy him. The Grand Priest shrugs it off, of course, but right before Vegeta closes his eyes, he sees a vision. A vision of what could be referred to as Super Saiyan Infinity. Now, once again, if you haven't watched the God of Destruction Vegeta Saga, I hope that enticed you enough to go back and binge the rest of it, because from this point forward, the sequel, the Universe Zero Saga, begins. If you guys haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the little notification bell as well to never miss an upload as soon as they go live. And if you haven't already, consider leaving a like on the video as well for Chapter 1 of the Universe Zero Saga, our very own fan manga that I know you guys have been waiting weeks for. The like goal for the last video was, I think, 4,000. So let's see if we can get this one to 4,500 for the start of a new series. But anyways, without further ado,
Ooh-doo-doo-doo. 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 Ooh-doo-doo.
So after Lord Zalama puts forth his proposal to put into place a new multiversal infrastructure, he conveniently saves Universe 7 from absolute doom. The rest of Universe 7 is merged with Universe 6 from there on out. Broly goes to planet Sadala, Piccolo leaves on a journey, while Gohan and the others keep the Earth's peace. As for Goku and Vegeta, their souls are banished from the multiverse and sent straight to an independent and lawless realm called Universe Zero. And so, both Goku and Vegeta open their eyes into an independent domain, a region that is mutually exclusive from the known universes, the vast unknown. Hey Kakarot, where are you? Vegeta asks. I'm right here. Wait, who turned off the light? Goku replies. This is insane. I can't see or much less feel anything. Did we even get our bodies back? Where's this instruction manual? Vegeta says. Sure enough, reality around them was endlessly dark, but for Goku there was something nostalgic about this. The two lament about what to do until Goku recalls a memory from back when he was in the void. Those 12,000 years he spent in the void are all drilled into his subconsciousness. Sooner or later, the suppressed memory of that darkness is gonna show up, but for now, all he can think about is finding a way to turn on some light in here. That's it, Goku says. Listen, Vegeta, how about we try radiating ourselves? Universe Zero may be somewhat different from back home, but it isn't as if we can't power our way through darkness. Let's fill this energy with our own might. What's with this poetry? Well, whatever, I was planning on doing the same. Let's go, I'll impose myself on this universe, Vegeta states. Just like that, the two of them unleash their strongest possible transformations. Goku can't use the Omni Key, but the enhanced clarity he acquired after breaking out of the void had earned him something else. The ability to use Super Saiyan Blue and Mastered Ultra Instinct simultaneously. The combination can be referred to as Super Saiyan White from here on out. As for Vegeta, he lost his Destroyer Key, but the growth he had during the battle with Omni Goku, Zenith, and then the Grand Priest is all very much still there. Goku is no longer Omni Goku, but Vegeta is very much still Omega Vegeta. Together, they radiate all nearby reality and effectively bring their bodies back into existence. What the hell, Kakarot? You were stronger back during the battle with the Grand Priest, Vegeta laughs. Give me a break, Vegeta. At least I haven't used the name Omega. What are you gonna do if you get a better transformation? Name it Omega Vegeta 2 or something? That isn't gonna make any sense, Goku mocks back. Well, I have had a premonition that I'll soon obtain the impossible and surpass even the Grand Priest. I'll achieve Super Saiyan Infinity, Vegeta boldly declares. Wait, that name actually sounded pretty cool, Goku replies. They continue to bicker about who will get to Infinity first, and then Goku notices a planet right above them. Since there's nowhere else to go, the two decide to head there first. Oddly enough, once they get closer, they can instinctively sense a source of light other than them. It still isn't visible, but it's there on the planet. That much is certain. The only plausible conclusion is that someone else is imposing their own self onto the planet, which means there's another individual close by. Definitely an exciting piece of information for these two. This will be their first encounter with someone else in Universe Zero, and it doesn't take them long to find that light either. They slow their pace and gradually make their way to that side of the planet, but right when they barely make out a person standing in the horizon, the other guy experiences a chill run down his spine, and he completely turns blue. No way. Is that the Northern Enigma? And who's the other guy with him? The mysterious individual exclaims, as he was scared and breathless. Goku does his obligatory yo, but there's no reply from this individual. He starts making a run for it, but Vegeta instantly catches up and stops him. What's the rush there, my friend? Come on, let's have a talk, Vegeta says. Alright, what do you want to talk about? He replies. First of all, can you tell us your name and share some food? Goku asks. I'm Vayne, and I'm afraid I haven't eaten anything since the last time I met someone, he says. Well, when was that? Vegeta asks. Honestly, I have no idea, he replies. Well, at least tell us where we can find some food, Goku asks. Sure, just go somewhere with a lot of planets. You'll find all sorts of species that you can eat, but I'm sure you already know that considering how you came all this way to the bottom of the universe. I'm assuming you two are exploring, he asks. No, we just suddenly found ourselves here. Wait, why are you turning bluer every passing second? Just relax, nobody's hurting you, Vegeta says. I'm confused, the guy replies. Why are you asking these questions? You are among the strongest known beings there are. The inevitable dragon. The man revered as the Northern Enigma, he replies. Vegeta looks at Goku, but Goku is simply just as clueless as he is. They both wonder if it's Shishido this guy is talking about, and whether or not Shishido resembles Vegeta, but that aside, they quickly reassure Vayne that all they need to know is where to find the Angel's Realm. Vayne had already given up on his life. He wasn't convinced at all and thinks they're just pranking him, but decides to play along. Well, the Angel's Realm is straight up north. If you have permission to go there, it wouldn't take too long. In fact, one of the angels may even come pick you up, but I guess I'll explain the structure of reality. This universe exists straight below the Angel's Realm. I've heard that there might be something beyond the Angel Realm, but I'm not even sure if that's true or not, he says. This is when Goku and Vegeta begin to wonder if they have permission or not. Guess we'll just mention Whis if we're not welcome, Goku says. And so with that, the two of them just start their journey to the north. Vayne continues to act like an instruction manual, but soon enough, a strong and unprecedented wave of light catches them off guard. Goku asks about it, and Vayne simply replies how light gathers wherever there's a strong energy source. It can be a person or any kind of other sentient mass. The further above you go, the brighter things get, but also just as much dangerous because the strongest of the strongest are the ones who reign supreme over the entirety of the North. Hey, earlier you said that we were at the very bottom of the universe. Does that mean there's nothing beneath us or just no source of light, Vegeta asks. I'm not sure there's something, but why would someone continue going to the depth just because they want to see if there is something or not? If the darkness is too much, at some point even your own light will be subdued. It's simply not worth it, he replies. Both Goku and Vegeta were having trouble picturing all of this, but Vayne's words are easy to understand. They continue their journey to the north, but one can only go so far without food. Goku and Vegeta are having a hard time bearing it all. It's been a while since they last saw another source of light. They should have just tried searching for food on the previous planet they saw. Vayne, how long until we see another planet, Goku asks. As I said before, I have no idea. The only certain thing is that you can always get somewhere if you keep going north, Vayne replies. Hearing this, Goku's mind goes into full survival mode. He's suddenly overwhelmed by the dreadful weight of his memories from the void. No food, nothing. Right then, in that very moment, he lets out a scream that sends a great roar in every direction. His voice starts reverberating and then suddenly, it compounds. So much so that an individual suddenly appears right in front of them. Goku. Vegeta. I've been waiting for your arrival, he says. Whoa, as you said, Vayne. An angel himself appeared to pick us up, Goku says. Indeed, my name is Kanshi. Lord Zalama informed me of your arrival some time ago. Well then, I guess I'll take you two to the Angel Realm, Kanshi states. Goku and Vegeta were about to bid Vayne farewell, but surprisingly, Kanshi asks if he'd like to come as well. Vayne ends up replying positively as he was still under the influence that all of this was a stupidly overblown prank. Vegeta is the Northern Enigma, and if he's to survive, he has to play along. Suddenly, Kanshi warps the three of them straight into a place of infinite whiteness. Goku and Vegeta immediately start swirling their heads, and in the distance, they observe a somewhat familiar individual walking straight towards them. Among everyone who has ever existed, this individual is the one whose birth was the most unusual. Ordinarily, even the greatest life forces will simply meet their end without ever learning about Universe Zero, but there was one man who cracked a hole in the fence. Millions of years ago, when Zeno erased 6 universes, there was a man, the ancient Saiyan named Yamoshi, who was an inhabitant of one of those universes. The erasure of the universe happened right before Yamoshi's son was born. Thanks to his unreal power and instincts, Yamoshi realized that everything around them will cease to exist, including themselves. However, his instincts somehow unleashed the reverse string entanglement, one of the 4 forbidden techniques of the cosmos. And just like that, his universe and 5 others would be erased. But his son was influenced by this technique. He was warped outside the influence of Zeno straight to an unknown region in Universe Zero. It's been millions of years since then. Shishido has survived and thrived countless wars and battles somehow. His current worry is how his hair keeps changing every 1,000 or so years. The cause of his anxiety has much to do with his extraordinarily moody wife, and then, of course, there's his mischievous son. As Shishido continues taking one step after another toward Goku and Vegeta, they can finally make out that the person coming towards them is in fact a Saiyan. One who's been around in a reality this preposterous for millions of years. Chills run down the both of their spines. Vayne knows full well about these smug expressions. That's the face of anticipation. Meanwhile, back in the new Universe 7, it's been 10 years since Goku and Vegeta were banished from the multiverse, as Champa asks Broly to take over as the Destroyer. He's afraid he won't be able to keep up with the times, but with Broly, you bet he'll always surpass any and all kinds of expectations. Subsequently, back in the Angel Realm, now that Shishido is almost in plain sight, instinctively, Goku and Vegeta use their greatest power-ups, almost purely just out of respect for this ancient Saiyan warrior. The story of Universe Zero has only just begun, and I really hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Thank you all so much for watching until the end, but that is going to do it for this one. Don't forget to hit that like button before we get out of here, guys. Remember, the goal is going to be...
Hello Indie Game fan, today is my birthday and as is tradition for the 3rd year running, here are upcoming pixel art games excluding titles like Chained Echoes since that is releasing very soon, so the main list begins with Lords of Exile, a long in development action platformer that was slated for release in 2022 but it got pushed, where things are not looking too good since we don't have updates from the developer, but as far as I know, this is still in development. It's a classic Vania action platformer that has more in common with the earlier Castlevania games rather than the games that have come after Symphony of the Night, where the developer absolutely nailed the throwback look. Speaking of throwback, Beloved Rapture is a SNES-style JRPG that has some great sprites, adding in some modern tweaks that makes it appeal to today's gaming audience. It is a coming-of-age story where a protagonist must deal with the return of his long-absent father, but the activities of an evil cult are threatening the world as well. It is supposed to be narrative-heavy with a tighter design, making it a mid-sized entry that you might actually complete. I'm a big fan of Brazilian developer Joy Masher since they have made some of my favorite titles including Blazing Chrome, Oniken and Odella's The Dark Call, where their retro pixel art streak continues with Vengeful Guardian Moon Rider. This is an action platformer that, like Blazing Chrome, looks like it belongs on the Genesis, having a fantastic 16-bit look. You play as a super soldier ninja warrior created by a totalitarian government to preserve and protect it, but upon gaining consciousness, decided to fight against your programming and to seek vengeance against your creators. The fast-paced action looks awesome and is in line with the games of that era, but I do wonder how they will tune the difficulty of this game. The long-in-development adventure game A Space for the Unbound finally got a confirmed release date, where we found out after the fact that the delay was primarily because of a contract dispute with their previous publisher, but the developers went public on Twitter to get this resolved. It seems like all of that is behind them now, which is why they could announce the date, which is very soon, where this is set in rural Indonesia in the late 1990s and is from an Indonesian developer as well. It has a slice-of-life setup with some supernatural elements, reminding me of the fantastic Japanese animated movie Weathering with You, so let's see when this releases in January. The cinematic platformer is a lost art at this point, where people simply don't make games like the original Prince of Persia, Flashback or Another World anymore, with Lunak being of interest because of that. It is a puzzle action platformer with more realistic looking animations, with a sci-fi slant as our hero takes on a totalitarian regime. It looks awesome, with the latest news being that they signed with publisher WayForward and will be releasing on all modern platforms. We're fairly certain that this is a 2023 release, but don't quote me on that. I like the look of Nova Lands since it has very clean pixel art, not the most visually complex or high-bit, but it simply works, being an action-adventure factory building title that looks great. It appears to be similar to Crashlands, but adds in the automation aspect of something like Factorial, even having combat against giant enemies, looking to be another hit in the space. Another title that seems to have become somewhat stuck in development is Bushiden, a gorgeous pixel art action platformer that has shown up many times on the channel, where I don't know what is going on with this game since it still has a 2022 release window, but does have no news or updates.
No free demo. Womp womp.
However, the pixel art in this is gorgeous, with some awesome combat animations and boss designs, so I'm guessing that it will finally release next year and we will get to feast our eyes. A great looking
Farm Simulation RPG
is Chef RPG. Not the most creative of names, but this game has you managing your own restaurants, hunting, foraging and fishing in order to get the freshest ingredients. You're able to customize your restaurant and have to run it in real time in an almost Diner Dash-like fashion, looking to be an alternative take on this genre. I like the look here, reminding me of Stardew Valley, where the animated character portraits and delicious looking food are worth a mention, but the character faces in the overworld do look kind of weird.
Goofy. Ooh, this looks fun.
An awesome roguelite party-based RPG with a classic look is Escape the
Oh, I
Mad
love my
Empire,
roguelikes.
where you're leading a
Please
band of
be
heroes
available.
delve into dungeons, exploring the apocalypses caused by said empire.
Wait.
If you were unable to tell from the footage, combat in this is real-time with pause, which means it's kind of like a classic computer
Lame.
RPG or CRPG, but framed as a roguelite, which makes it rather unique.
Itchy. Alright, I'll follow
The
you.
closest equivalent that I can think of is Heroes of Hammerwatch, but that is more of an action roguelite, making this very interesting indeed.
Looks cool. Ooh, I like this art. Looks like
I
Terraria.
absolutely love the look of Sea Blip, another
Farm Simulation RPG,
but this time from a side-scrolling perspective.
No. Farming simulation in a game? Okay.
It is of course
A
focused
farming
more on
simulation
naval warfare
game.
and exploration, where you
Hmm.
can choose the life of a pirate, sailing about and exploring the world, with activities like fishing, farming, and even a mystery surrounding the melting polar ice.
Looks a lot like Terraria.
The clouds and skyscapes are what really got my attention here, also impressing me with the intricately detailed buildings, looking to have great potential as well.
Oh shit, this looks cool.
A very
Dungeon
well-done
Crawl,
pixel
another
art
dungeon
deck-building
card
roguelike
game.
is Dungeon Drafters, reminding me of something like Crypt of the Necrodancer, but where the main inspiration is the Mystery Dungeon series.
Hey!
The spells that you cast look fun, with each
Demo!
ability having great art as well. and
Oh
we're
yeah,
probably due
baby.
for some good old classic turn-based roguelike action, as compared to the hundreds of Vampire Survivors clones,
Oh, did I
making
already
this
download
one
it?
of interest.
Maybe. No, there it is.
Another awesome looking title is Sons of Valhalla, a side-scrolling action strategy title that looks
it's
similar to
mine.
games like Kingdom, but
Nope.
where you appear
No,
to be
no, no.
more directly involved in the combat. You play as a Viking warrior setting off to England in pursuit of the love of his life, who was captured by another Viking Jarl, where you must lead your men, build long ships, and conquer enemy settlements in order to do so. But the sheer detail in the pixel art got my attention.
Ah, lame. I hate. Yep, remove it from the list, man. Hate that. You going like, oh, there's a demo, and you going there, nope, we removed it. Sorry.
Good news everyone, I have some information to share on Gestalt, Steam and Cinder, last seen in my video on upcoming Metroidvania games, where after that video went live, we got news that Gerard the Completionist, Jesse Cox and Dodger, the latter two of which were Total Biscuits co-hosts on the Co-Optional podcast, are now helping to produce the game, so hopefully that means that their planned release in 2023 will be met. This is a very pretty steampunk pixel art entry with some fantastic and very detailed backgrounds, certainly being one to watch.
This sucks, it's got no demo. No. Ugh.
A very pretty pixel art
Farm Simulation RPG.
with a twist is Moonstone Island, where you're spending a year away from home as part of your alchemy training, moving to the titular island and refining your knowledge.
Meh.
However, in addition to the farming elements, there's also action-adventure style exploration and even monster taming turn-based deck-building combat, looking to mash together plenty of ideas from different genres, which I hope will work well together. The farming portion, however, does look very classic, where you can build sprinklers as well, with some of the most adorable pixel art that I have come across. The Last Night is the sole representative of the long-in-development games that may be in some sort of development hell, but this was revealed way back in 2017, where they were supposed to share more news about the game this year but have been quiet so far. It is quite an interesting cyberpunk setting, where you play as a lower-class man in a world where all the menial work has been taken over by machines and computers, looking to be an intriguing setting, so subscribe to the channel and I'll let you know when there is news. I have to give a special mention to Vikings on Trampolines, the next title from the developers of Our Boy, D-Pad Studio, who again are known for their pixel art, perhaps even coining the term high-bit pixel art on the blog post way back when. Interestingly, this is a multiplayer party brawler title where you play as Vikings on trampolines in a variety of situations, with combat that personifies the word chaos, and thus have both co-op and competitive modes as well. I like how different this is from a typical 2D platformer, so hopefully the gameplay portion holds up as compared to its pixel art.
See the Super Mario World reference in there?
A title that I forgot about
Castlevania,
in my list of upcoming
Metroid.
Metroidvanias is 9 Years of Shadows, since I had it in my mind and penciled in a 2022 release date, which it did originally have, since it was supposed to launch in October and then got delayed to November and now got pushed to 2023 as well.
Yeah, no demo.
We do have
It
to
looks
wait a
cool
little
as
bit
hell.
longer, but I'm
I love
very excited
Metroid.
for this since the pixel art is on point. Combat looks fun and you have 3 elemental armors to change things up, with some very impressive looking bosses as well. Developer Taco Boy Studios is known for their pixel art, which is why their latest title, Cross Blitz, is of interest, a turn-based card battler that is a very nice change from the Slay the Spire style roguelite deck builder, having some very impressive art on the cards and characters. You're exploring an island with the different heroes, each having a unique single-player campaign and story, and with 5 factions and their cards to choose from, has plenty to love if you enjoy card games. The pixel art in the overworld map is also beautiful, earning a spot in the top 10. Another long in development title that I've been looking forward to is Windrunners, a side-scrolling aerial combat title where you play as rebels fighting against a tyrannical empire with your superior aerial skills.
No damn.
It looks like Love Rousers but on a grander scale, with intense dogfights and even giant mechanical bosses to battle, all with a look and theme that seems very anime. Developer Ludic Studios did release the awesome Akane in 2018, where they took on some contract work to make Kate Collateral Damage, which was based on the Netflix movie of the same name, releasing that in 2021, but are now back to working on this game, so hopefully we will get to play and to admire the gorgeous pixel art soon. Of course, Mina the Hollower has to be mentioned, coming to us from the developer of Shovel Knight, where they have turned their attention to the top-down action-adventure genre rather than the side-scrolling platformer.
Like an old school Zelda game.
Our heroine is on a mission to save a cursed island, having to fight all sorts of monsters and ghouls in a somewhat Castlevania-like environment where they've retained the 8-bit look, where if Shovel Knight is anything to go by, this should be excellent as well. Surprise! I bet that most of you were not aware of Wandering Sword, a pixel art RPG that sure looks similar to Octopath Traveler, but with a distinctly Chinese theme and setting.
I doubt it. Doubt it's got a demo.
It is a Chinese martial arts or wuxia focused title, where our protagonist is a young swordsman caught up in a feud, having to find allies, forge alliances, and to protect the weak, or on your path to become a legendary master.
Nope.
Most interestingly, the developers talk about two modes of gameplay, classic tactical turn-based combat or a real-time option, so it's interesting that they're gonna give both options, although that may erode the game's identity. However, this Chinese martial arts setting is not commonly seen in games outside of China, so it might be of interest purely because of that.
Oh shit!
The one representative from bigger games on the list is Metal Slug Tactics, a title that just made me grin ear to ear when it was revealed, since it marks the return of the IP in the whole
Metal Slug was
genre.
awesome!
The run-and-gun arcade classic Metal Slug games are awesome, having pixel art that still holds up to this day, where this game keeps up that tradition but takes it into the isometric plane. It does feature many returning characters and enemies, and even the iconic Metal Slug tank, along with all those classic sound effects, where apparently there are roguelite elements in this as well. This is under the management of publisher Dotemu, who have done fantastic work with old IPs, with games like Streets of Rage 4 and Windjammers 2, so I have trust that this will be great.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Fans of the channel will be familiar with Sea of Stars, since this is one JRPG title that I'm very excited about, coming to us from the developer of The Messenger, and is also somehow set in the same
No
universe.
demo.
The developers have been very busy with updates, where we have this brand new trailer to look at as well.
Looks
showing
really
off
cool.
all of the combat.
I'd play it.
Of course, comparisons will be drawn to Chrono Trigger, which is fair, but the pixel art in this is next level as well. You have to combine the power of Sun and Moon in order to use Eclipse magic to fight against an evil entity known as the Flashmancer, where this was originally scheduled for release this year but got pushed, but given how things are going, I'm fairly certain that the 2023 target will be met.
Alright, I gotta go get my dog from
I've
outside.
been so very excited for Replaced ever since it was announced, where this has some of the most amazing pixel art, where you play as
Why
an
you always gotta
artificial
do that?
intelligence unwillingly trapped in a human body. Like Lunak, this does have elements of a cinematic platformer, and cinematic it is, with some really beautiful shot compositions shown off in this trailer. The combat, however, does appear to be the highlight, looking absolutely brutal, where I do want to shout out the lighting as well, which makes this look absolutely gorgeous. Of course, this Bloodborne-like gothic horror Metroidvania is worth another mention, where The Last Faith is one of my most anticipated games. If you want to know the details on this, watch this video on upcoming Metroidvanias. Indie Game Fan, I love Metroidvania, so here are 50 to look forward to. Excluding titles like Frontier Hunter, Urza's Wheel of Fortune, where Little Bird told me that it's slated for release in
Oh my
December,
gosh.
so keep your eyes peeled for that. Let's begin with Eldoren, a pixel art dark fantasy title that kind of looks
Wait a
like the
minute.
Punishing of
What happened?
Textia from earlier this year, where the action looks fast-paced and is not a Souls-like. Hello Indie Game Fan, today is my birthday
Oh my
and
god,
as is
well, we
tradition
were
for
on
the
like
3rd year running. There are roguelite elements in this as well. This is under the management of publisher very excited about, coming to us from the developer of The Messenger, and is also somehow set in the same universe. I've been so very excited for Replaced ever since it was announced, where this has some of the most amazing pixel art, where you play as an artificial intelligence unwillingly trapped in a human body. Like Lunark, this does have elements of a cinematic platformer, and cinematic it is, with some really beautiful shot compositions shown off in this trailer. The combat, however, does appear to be the highlight, looking absolutely brutal, where I do want to shout out the lighting as well, which makes this look absolutely gorgeous.
the music sounds awesome.
Of course, this Bloodborne-like gothic horror Metroidvania is worth another mention, where The Last Faith is one of my most anticipated games. If you want to know the details on this, watch this video on upcoming Metroidvanias. Hello
Really, I
Indie
already
Game
know
Fan,
that.
it's that time of year where we start.
Alright. Ah.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how an ultrasonic cleaner can create waves that are so strong it can even dissolve solid metal. So look at this magical cleaning power of the ultrasonic cleaner here. I'm just going to draw on this piece of glass with a pencil here. So you can see I can wiggle it around in the water, but the pencil marks just stay there. So they're not easily wiped off. But now I'm going to turn on the ultrasonic cleaner and watch what happens to the pencil marks. They instantly just come off of it.
Oh wow. That's cool.
So how is this working? How can I clean things so well, like this bolt here? Notice how the dirt and grime just come off it instantly when I stick it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Well, we know that it has something to do with sound. It's called an ultrasonic cleaner. At the bottom of this metal piece is an ultrasonic transducer. Basically, it's just a device that vibrates around 42,000 times per second. So you can't hear the sound from it because it's above the frequency that we can hear. That's why it's called ultrasonic. But you'll notice that we can hear a little bit of sound. That's just the pieces of the machine vibrating in the audible range, so we can hear that a little bit. So this bottom metal is vibrating at 42,000 times a second, sending sound waves through the water. A sound wave just means that you have pushed molecules closer together and further apart at a regular frequency. So when you create regular sound waves, it just creates pressure waves that propagate between high and low pressure. This deviation in pressure in the sound wave is called acoustic pressure. For a given amplitude, the higher the frequency of sound, the higher the acoustic pressure. So if we want to create extreme high and low pressures, you can either turn up the amplitude by making the sound louder, or you can keep the amplitude the same but turn up the frequency. The ultrasonic cleaners have extremely high frequencies, which means they can create extremely high acoustic pressures. So if we send an ultrasonic wave through water, then something interesting happens. Notice that we have a peak of high pressure and a peak of low pressure, but there's a limit to how low we can get the pressure in water. Once the pressure is below the vapor pressure of water, then the water actually turns into a vapor. When this happens, it's called cavitation. Cavitation is tiny little bubbles that happen in the low pressure regions of the sound wave created in the water. These bubbles themselves don't do much to clean things. For example, I can boil water in my vacuum chamber by lowering the pressure, but that doesn't mean that I can clean something in the water. It doesn't really do anything. The cleaning power of the ultrasonic cleaner comes from when these little cavitation bubbles collapse and form a liquid again. So what happens is during several cycles of the sound wave, the cavitation bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually they pass a critical point. At that point, they instantly collapse into a liquid again. Now this collapse in volume is so sudden that it creates extremely high pressures, above 1 gigapascal. That's above 1,000 atmospheres of pressure. And it creates temperatures above around 10,000 Kelvin. In fact, the collapsing bubbles even create shock waves in the water. That means that it's moving faster than the speed of sound in the water. So those tiny little collapsing bubbles are what actually do the cleaning. So that's why when you stick something dirty in the ultrasonic cleaner, the dirt just seems to melt off. If you don't believe me how strong these bubbles are collapsing, then you can actually watch them eat away at this metal foil here.
Huh, that's cool. What if you stuck your finger in there?
Instantly begins to get
Would it
eaten
hurt?
away when these tiny little bubbles form on it. This is so crazy. Okay, I'm going to turn it on in 3, 2, 1. So this brass foil just becomes dust as these ultra high speed, pressure, and temperature waves hit them and just disintegrate it into dust. What's really cool is that you can see the acoustic pressure even better if you put some soda water in the ultrasonic cleaner. So you can see how it's kind of just bubbling out a little bit, but watch what happens when we turn it on. 3, 2, 1. As soon as you turn it on, it'll instantly cavitate the water and the CO2 very fast. So you see the CO2 instantly leave the water. The cavitation doesn't only happen in ultrasonic cleaners, it happens wherever you get low enough pressures to create cavitation. In fact, cavitation can even happen on propellers in water. If they're spinning fast enough, on the back edge of the propeller, the pressure gets low enough to create cavitation, and these collapsing bubbles can eat away at the metal propeller. And thanks again for watching another episode of the Action Lab. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and you can also hit the bell so you can be notified when I release my latest videos. And check out theactionlab.com for Action Lab gear. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
That is pretty interesting. Exactly. Ooh, my child died in my arms. So, anybody who's perceived to be mean to a child, I don't like.
Hickman's Fantastic Four, and the ending of this story is crazy. It's one of the coolest endings ever because it sets the stage for everything to come after. But one of the coolest things about this comic book is until we get to the very end, there's no words. There's no words. It's 100% artwork, right? So one of the things that happens is that it's kind of like the month of mourning, right? So when Johnny Storm, when everything pops off, right? The Negative Zone portal opens, the Fantastic Four had alerted like the Avengers and the superheroes because they may needed them. At least you had Johnny and you had Ben. Susan and Reed, again, were not there at the time that all that stuff popped off. But you basically have the Avengers who show up here, right? The new Avengers who arrive on the scene, but Johnny's already gone, right? Like he's already dead. And so they're too late. And so in a lot of ways, it's pain and anguish on their behalf, especially from Wolverine, because it's kind of like, no! And this is one of the coolest things to keep in mind, because again, one of the things we talked about before is you don't see the Fantastic Four as like a combat team. You don't really see them like fighting threats in the same way that you normally see the Avengers or the X-Men dealing with threats. But a lot of that's because the Fantastic Four have kind of transcended past this place of like, we fight your everyday villains, and they're more explorers than anything else, but they are a highly respected team among the entirety of the superhero community. If this was DC Comics, the Fantastic Four are Superman. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a thing. And so everybody is basically looking at this idea that like they're gone. At that moment, the first member of the Fantastic Four that wasn't there to arrive on the scene is Susan Storm, and she's immediately given the news that her brothers died. And so once Reed arrives on the scene, he goes to visit Susan, and when he goes to talk to her, she just puts a force field around herself. She wants to be left alone. She doesn't want to talk to anybody, doesn't want to deal with anybody or anything like that. Now, one of the things about this and what makes this so great is because this is Jonathan Hickman basically building on 50 years of Fantastic Four stories, right? And the reason why I say that is because what made the Fantastic Four so unique in Marvel Comics when they were first introduced is, unlike the Justice League of America or anything like that, this team, it was a team of family members, which meant they bickered like family members. They argued like family members. Susan Storm and Johnny Storm are brother and sister. They've always kind of bickered back and forth, and they've had their squabbles. But at the end of the day, they squabbled the way they did because there was love there, because they cared about each other. And for her to have her brother snatched out from under her like that, not only that, to not even be there when it happens and to not have the ability to save him, completely and totally destroys Susan Storm. And so Reed, in a moment of anger, actually goes to his work area, right, in the Baxter Building, and he grabs the ultimate nullifier. Now, here's the thing. This is the Fantastic Four. This is the Marvel Comics equivalent of just pressing the button, right? That's literally what this is. So when it comes to the ultimate nullifier, it's relative to the person using it. So if you put that ultimate nullifier in the hands of a person who is basically stupid, they wouldn't really be able to do a whole lot with it, right? They could like blow up a car. You put this thing in the hands of Reed Richards, you're going to annihilate a universe, right? And not only that, not only does an ultimate nullifier annihilate something, it basically removes it like it never existed. It quite literally destroys any history of it. This guy goes to the negative zone portal, he goes to open it up, and he's immediately met by Annihilus. And Annihilus, of course, is the last person, really the first person, that Reed wanted to see so he could destroy him. And Annihilus just holds up the shirt of Johnny Storm. He just holds it up as a taunt to Reed Richards. And Reed Richards, just kind of feeling defeated, ultimately ends up walking away. And so what you get is this kind of funeral for Johnny Storm, right? Where basically they pay their respects and all that kind of stuff because of all the things that he'd done, everything that he had been a part of. And there's this kind of vengeance, right? That everybody's sort of feeling like something has to be done about this. We can't just let it be that Johnny Storm died. It can't simply just go that way. Now, the other part of this, and what's so ironic about this, is that while in New York at the Baxter Building, you have basically them mourning over the death of Johnny Storm, in Latveria, you have the commemoration of Christophe Bernard, right? The adopted son of Dr. Doom, the one that Dr. Doom brought in to rule in his stead, because remember, Dr. Doom's intelligence was basically screwed up by the intelligentsia. He's not as smart as he was before. The other part of this is that on day 8, that's when you get the actual funeral for Johnny Storm. And Dr. Doom shows up to pay his respects. And that's one of the cool things, right? Johnny Storm always kind of put off this perspective in Marvel Comics that he was the playboy. He's the guy you never take seriously. You never bank on Johnny Storm. You can never rely on Johnny Storm. The reality of this is that he's the guy you wanted in your corner. One, because he was just so damn powerful. But two, if he cared about you, he would go to the ends of the earth for you. Right? He would go to the limits for you. It was absolutely amazing. And so what you also have is on day 14, you have Franklin Richards mourning the death of Johnny Storm. Now, here's the thing about this. It's never spoken here. It's never said here. And there will be a conversation that takes place between Spider-Man and Franklin later on that we will cover. But this death of Johnny Storm is probably one of the most significant things to happen to Franklin. One of the most important things to happen to Franklin Richards. And this is one of the things that's going to push him over the edge. It's one of those things that's going to elevate his power to a whole different level. But it's going to be done in an amazing way. It's really, really cool because there comes a point when he freaks, when he unleashes, and when he does, oh my God, when Franklin Richards goes off, son, it's one of the best moments in Marvel Comics history. God, I absolutely love it. But then you have Valeria, right, with like the Future Foundation, all these young kids. And she's like, okay, so like, here are potential replacements that we can consider for somebody, for Johnny Storm, right? Black Panther, Wyatt Wingfoot, who was at one point kind of a mascot for the Fantastic Four in the early days. She-Hulk, who was a member of the Fantastic Four at one point and replaced Ben Grimm for a while. But at the end of the day, she's like, no, like, we're not going to replace Johnny Storm. We're going to put our minds to task. We're going to find a way to kill Annihilus. And like, they're all behind it, right? Now, in one of the more beautiful moments here, and it's so emotional and it's so incredible, you've got Ben Grimm dealing with the death of Johnny Storm. Now, initially, Ben Grimm is approached with this kind of message, right, where it's like these kinds of things happen in life, and sometimes it's not fair, and just sort of the good advice that people try to give you when you're in a time of mourning. But as any of you out there who have lost someone know, sometimes you don't want to just sit and mourn. Sometimes you want to destroy some shit. And so where Ben Grimm rejects the conversation from anybody, right? Where he rejects this notion of, you know, I should talk it through and all that kind of stuff. Instead, he's met by what he needs the most, because the two people here are not arbitrary scientists. They're not just random guys who showed up to deliver a message to Ben. Instead, it's Donald Blake and Bruce Banner, and they know what it is that Ben Grimm needs. They can take a beating just like anybody else. So Donald Blake slams his stick on the ground, he turns into Thor, and Bruce Banner becomes the Incredible Hulk. And in an effort to help Ben Grimm deal with everything that's going on, the three of them engage in a kind of three-way fight. And it's such a beautiful moment because it's not fighting for the sake of fighting. It's because Ben Grimm's got so much anger and he's got so much pain because he feels like he should have been the one to die. He feels like he should have been the one on the other side, that he should have been there and he could have helped Johnny, right? If there was something he could have done. Because the reality is when you lose a loved one, it's regret, it's pain, it's sadness. I could have done something. I should have done something, right? If it's a situation that's beyond your control, that sense of helplessness is an overwhelming and dominating force. And so when you have like the Incredible Hulk and you have Thor here that basically help Ben Grimm work out all of his anger and all of his frustration, eventually he just succumbs to tears, and the Hulk does, and Thor do, and it's just this incredibly emotional moment because you have just these three huge guys who are just crying over the death of a person that meant the world to them. But while all of this is going on, Reed Richards is dealing with it as best he can. But always remember, Reed has a million things on his mind. So while they're all dealing, while Susan Storm and Ben Grimm and them are dealing with the emotional loss of Johnny Storm, you have Reed that's also dealing with the reality of the situation that they're in. Invasion from the negative zone probability, high. Invasion from the Universal Inhumans, high. Celestial invasion via the bridge, the Mad Celestial showing up, that's a medium threat. Franklin Richards' power set, his ever-expanding and growing powers, that threat is high. The threat of Galactus basically destroying the world, high. The reformation of the Council of Reeds is necessary. And so as Reed Richards is sitting there mulling over all of this, struggling with the loss of what's basically his brother Johnny Storm, seemingly out of nowhere, his father reappears, just shows up out of nowhere. And it's like, hello, son, I'm home. And so what we end up doing here is we transition, right? That moment we were talking about, that conversation that takes place between Spider-Man and Franklin, when Spider-Man shows up to visit Franklin, this takes place on day 14. This is one of the most important conversations because this is a make it or break it point, right? Remember, Franklin's a little kid, but his powers are back. And I would go as far as to say Spider-Man literally saved all of creation here, even if he didn't know it. Because with Franklin Richards being a kid that's so powerful that even Galactus is afraid of him, that speaks to how powerful this kid is. Peter Parker showing up here, this serves two purposes. One, it does help to Peter to kind of relate to Franklin and help him work through this, but two, it actually starts one of the coolest friendships in Marvel Comics, because Peter's question here is like, how long have you been up here? And Franklin's like, I don't know, but it's quiet up here. And so Peter's like, okay, like, do you mind if I hang out with you for a bit? And the response of Franklin is, I guess not. And that's one of the things to know, right? For those of you guys who have never dealt with somebody who's dealing with grief, and grief comes in a lot of different forms, right? Grief comes in from a variety of different sources. If you've never been around or dealt with anybody who is going through grief, it's not a matter of demanding things. It's not a matter of saying, this is what you need. Sometimes it's just learning how to shut the hell up. And sometimes it's just learning how to say, I'm here if you need me. Because sometimes all they want is to just be there, but they also want to know that you're there. And that's enough. That's really all it is. It's not problem solving. It's not getting everything sorted out. Sometimes they just want to sit there and be quiet, and then they just burst into tears, or they just start screaming and shouting or something like that, because that's what they need in the moment. What Franklin needs is a friend. And the reality here is everybody is struggling with grief in their own way, that Franklin doesn't really have anybody to turn to. And so turning to Peter, he simply says, like, my Uncle Johnny died. And the response of Peter is, yeah, I know. I'm very sorry about that. How are you doing with all of that stuff? And Franklin, again, is kind of having a conversation with a kid. You know, I'm not doing so well, you know, I'm not really sleeping all that well, and I'm having bad thoughts. I want to hurt people. I want to do bad things, right? I want to destroy things, that kind of stuff, right? And again, it's a pause for concern. It's like, this is not like a little kid who's just like, I'm really, really angry, you know? And it's like, well, how does that make you feel? You know, draw on a piece of paper with a crayon, you know? It's like, okay, Franklin, well, please don't destroy all of creation. You know, like, it's that kind of a thing, right? It's that kind of concern. And so Peter Parker actually ends up grabbing Franklin and saying, okay, well, let's go get some lunch. You know, like, you know, have you had any lunch or anything? And Franklin's like, well, I'm not really hungry. And Peter's like, well, I'm starving, right? So let's go get something, right? Let's spend some time together. And it's literally just Peter Parker and Franklin Richards hanging out together. It's just them spending time together because that's what Franklin needs. He just needs someone to spend time with him. But at that point, Peter kind of opens up to Franklin and says, look, I don't know if your mom and dad ever told you about this, but when I was younger, I lost somebody that was close to me too. You know, like we were really, really close, like you and your Uncle Johnny were close. And when Franklin's like, well, what happened? You know, the response of Peter is he was killed in a robbery. Of course, he's talking about Uncle Ben. And that's a really, really cool moment here because Peter's ability to empathize with Franklin and to say like, I can understand where you're coming from. I don't know exactly how you feel because I'm not you. And in a lot of ways, how you cared about Uncle Johnny was different than how I cared about Uncle Ben or how I saw Uncle Ben. I do know what it's like to lose someone close to me. And the response of Peter is, you know, me too. You know, I'm sad that happened. And not a day goes by that I don't think about him. Not a single day goes by where that doesn't happen. But it doesn't make me sad anymore. He says, I mean, sure, I wish he was still here. And God, do I miss him. But after a while, the dark thoughts, the bad ones, like you're having right now, they'll fade away. And you'll spend most of your time thinking about how much fun you had together and how much you loved him. And so Franklin, of course, asks the most logical question there, which is, how long before that happens? And the response of Peter is, it takes a while. And that's true. It'd be nice if as human beings, we could say, okay, I've lost a loved one. In 30 days, I'm gonna feel better. In 30 days, everything's gonna be okay. In this period of time, everything will be better. But the reality here is that things happen to us. As human beings, things happen. And it's not always fair, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's just things that happen in this world. And there is no deadline for the grieving process. Right? There is no amount of time that passes before definitively everything will be okay. There are people out there who have lost things that were meaningful to them and they never recovered. They never got better. They never bounced back. Whereas there are people who had something bad happen to them and they bounced back fairly quickly. There's no rules here. And that's what Peter's communicating to Franklin is there's no rules on how long it takes before these memories or these thoughts that you have go away and they're replaced by positive ones. Just know that in time, that happens. In time, things get better. And so Franklin says, can I tell you something? Can I tell you a secret, Spider-Man? And Peter's like, yeah. And he says, I think I could have stopped Uncle Johnny from dying. Now, this is an important thing and one of the single most important things for Franklin. And it's so ridiculously easy to overlook, right? It's so ridiculous. And I'm not even talking about, well, he's taking the guilt on himself. No, this thought right here, this statement, I think I could have stopped Uncle Johnny from dying. You need to keep that in the back of your head because that single thought right there, that single motivation governs everything that happens next. Every single decision Franklin makes, everything he does, when he's learning how to use his powers, when he's being trained by the man that he doesn't recognize, right, the person he doesn't know, we'll cover that in future Foundation. When all this stuff is happening, right, all these things are happening, this is all governed by that singular thought. But the other part of this is Franklin could have saved Uncle Johnny from dying, right? Had he possessed more control over his abilities. And I don't say that because it's like, Franklin, you idiot, you know, it's really more of, yes, he's that powerful, but it's one of those things where this guilt that he feels is going to be channeled into something more productive. And Franklin is going to become more powerful than he's ever been in the history of Marvel Comics. And so the response of Peter is, okay, well, I promise I'll keep it to myself. Can I tell you a secret? And Franklin's response is, yeah. And he says, I know I could have stopped my Uncle Ben from dying. And well, the question of Peter or question of Franklin is, why didn't you? Peter gives this amazing statement to Franklin, which again, this is why I say this conversation is the most important conversation Franklin's ever going to have. That Peter says, because I was young, because I didn't understand how important every single decision we make is, because I had to learn that when you have gifts like ours, you don't think about yourself first. You think about how lucky you are to have them and how much other people need help. It's what my uncle would have wanted from me. and it's what your Uncle Johnny would have wanted from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Franklin's response is yes. And so Peter says, okay, good, now I gotta get you home. But this is a hugely important conversation because Peter Parker quite literally turned Franklin Richards from this Anakin Skywalker approach, right? Just falling to darkness and just becoming this despotic conqueror of the universe to a character who's actually going to save everything in existence, because he does. Franklin Richards, at the end of this story, saves the universe from complete and total annihilation. And when I say the universe, I mean, he saves the universe. I mean it quite literally. It's one of the greatest moments ever in the history of Marvel Comics, and I absolutely love it. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. Next week, we will be back on Thursday to our regular Fantastic Four schedule, except in that video, we're going to be calling it the Future Foundation because the name changes. But we're going to bring this to an end.
Alright, that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna head on over Rumble and play some games. If you wanna watch me over there, same name, King's Refuge. Sign out. Deuces.